Okay, so I'll probably edit out the first 10 seconds, but okay. Welcome to episode -6 of Mason and Forrest's as of yet unnamed podcast. Today it is Sunday, October 7th, 2018. Whoops.
Wow, good start.
Yep, starting off a little rough, but we're happy you're here. We're happy you're listening to the worst podcast we ever are going to make.
Hopefully.
But
the best one we've ever made so far.
Exactly. So yeah, true. Up until this point, this will be our best podcast. So you want to tell our dear listener, I'm probably going to keep it singular for now, just because it's episode -6, and I don't have extremely high expectations. Would you like to tell our listener why we are calling this episode -6?
Well, we were having a conversation in the car on the way to our career fair, which was last week, and I brought up that professional podcasters, before they start their podcast, they're supposed to, supposedly, the rule of thumb is you build up a backlog before you start of 6 to 8 podcasts before you start putting them out, so that if you miss a week or you miss a month, whatever your time scale is, then you can use one of those, or you already have a six podcast backlog.
Is that why?
That's why we started, and then we joked about using our podcast starts in the before Common Era timeline, where we're essentially Neanderthals, podcasting Neanderthals.
This is episode from -6 BCE.
Well, it'd actually just be 6 BCE.
Oh yes, that's true.
-6 BCE. Wouldn't that would be 6 CE, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Well, that we haven't decided what era we're in.
That's true. You're right.
I to my understanding, I thought the reason we were doing 6 negative episodes is because you really have to get 6 episodes down before you should even upload them, because the first 6 are going to be crap. But I guess, yeah, what you just said makes sense as well. Maybe mine was just a bit more of a pessimistic approach. I just assumed that the first 6 we make probably aren't going to be any good, honestly. So anybody who's really listening this far, at this point, our listener has committed almost 3 full minutes to just hearing us talk about why we're making negative episodes of our podcast. This is a loyal viewer.
Thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate it.
In fact, this could be someone who's coming back to listen to this after we've blown
up. This is our career right now, probably.
Yeah.
Which is why you're listening to it.
Because just like every other new podcaster, we know with 100% confidence that one day we will be pulling millions of views, because that's what always happens to everybody who starts a podcast. Everybody, always.
Amen. Speaking of which, should we go over our what happens if we reach our unspecified number of listeners, subscribers? We haven't decided what the actual...
Yeah. Okay, so Mason and I jokingly have said that, I think I said it initially jokingly, that if we ever got to, was it episode 100 or 100,000 viewers or something?
I think we said 100,000 viewers, but we never actually specified, because there's a difference between a listener and a subscriber, follower kind of thing. So we haven't actually...
I honestly think if we set a goal for 100,000 subscribers, we will never do that.
That is true.
I think it's extremely ambitious that we will, because I think making an actual real good podcast is quite a commitment. You don't see many people who are doing it just like we are doing, where we dropped, maybe $200 into equipment and then just do it in our room. You don't see many of those people really taking off. It's always the people with actual studios, an organized routine, guests, consistent upload dates, or even consistent subjects, whereas we, as of yet, have none of those things.
That is true. However, we did discuss that our podcast has to have something unique.
Okay.
And our uniqueness could just be in our us straying from the path of other successful podcasters.
Okay, by being unsuccessful.
By being unsuccessful,
okay.
Exactly. But being successful in an unsuccessful manner. Because I'm not gonna lie,
Okay.
I was scrolling through Spotify podcasts,
Okay.
and it is unbelievable the amount of podcasts
Okay.
that they have a whole like, this is the gardening podcast, or the at home gardener podcast or something, and you click on it, and there's one episode, and it's a guy, and he's like, so I decided to start this podcast. I'm hoping to do this every week, and then that's it. All they have is an introduction. So just by making it past that, we're already in the top.
That is something
50%.
I actually was thinking about. I think we need to have a good introduction.
That is true. We definitely need to hammer that out. But we have 6 more episodes before we're even starting in the out of our Neanderthal
That's
times.
true. I was thinking about intros because, you know, most people like me, for example, considering myself as my sample size 1 for most people, I guess, a bit ambitious. But when I am listening to podcasts, when I'm browsing through the app, because I recently got an iPhone, and one of the apps that it comes pre-downloaded with is a podcast app. And when I am listening to podcasts on there, when I'm trying to decide what I want to commit my next, however much time to, I usually will just listen to the first little bit, or I'll read the description of what they're talking about, and I'll decide, like, oh, that's something I care about. And oftentimes, what it is that interests me is something that's a current event, or something that I would gain something by knowing, even if it's just being able to hold a conversation with someone.
Right.
Like for example, I've listened to probably the most podcasts. The most frequent topic I listen to has been Brett Kavanaugh, because that's so recent, and I like to stay up to date on that so I can talk to people about it, which is actually on my list of topics I'd like to talk about, but not right now. We'll get to that later. But I do think we do have to have a good intro. I do think we should probably also work on maybe a thumbnail kind of thing. You see an image that represents.
I was actually thinking about that, and the image that always comes to mind for me. I don't know how well you remember this, but the time we went to the Cayman Islands and we faked a tattoo, right?
Scarf Barrio.
No. Just that Tri-Mountain Range.
Okay.
With MFPodcast written underneath it.
Okay. Are we trying to go at MFPodcast? Because I honestly just now had the realization as I was writing, because I'm trying to keep show notes just to make it easier for me to edit. As I'm writing these, I had written Mason Forrest Podcast episode -6, and I realized if we switch the letters around, we could make a play off of the fact that radio waves you can listen to FM radio, and we have Forrest and Mason. You could listen to the FM radio, and it's us.
So I guess this is this might be our name might be kind of a turning point, because if we go MF Podcast, it kind of invokes a humorous sense, as in this is the motherfucking podcast.
Yeah. Also, I guess we swear in the podcast, which is something I wanted to talk about, but I'm glad you just did it, because I thought I'd have to convince you that we should keep it genuine and just not hold back as far as swearing, but you did it.
I did. So I think that we should keep it not restricted, but we should not go above and beyond when it comes to the number of cuss words we use.
Yeah, you got to have respect for people's ears. If you want people to do you the service of putting your voice in their ear, you have to respect the ear. That means no random loud sounds. That means I'm not going to be. If I'm sneezing, I'm gonna sneeze away from the mic out of courtesy to your ear. I know you don't want any of my snot in your eardrum going forward. And just general microphone etiquette, I suppose, should be upkept. But yeah, I do agree that if a swear word is necessary for something, it's necessary. It adds a little bit of weight. It keeps it authentic, keeps it genuine.
Yeah. But anyway, back to before we got rabbit holed. If we go with the FM podcast, that implies a more adulty kind of vibe. People that listen to FM radio, like NPR and
I honestly don't think that the name of the podcast has too much of weight. I especially for someone like us, because I honestly would expect the majority of our viewers, or I suppose listeners, to be just people that genuinely like care about our lives. Like I'm even talking somebody from high school that maybe hasn't even thought of me in forever, and then all of a sudden they see, oh, this guy's doing a podcast. What a boner! Like God, I hate people that do podcasts. But he clicks on it just because he's bored. He's laying in bed. He's tired. Lights are off. He's got his headphones in, or maybe even not. And he's just like, I can't even remember what Forrest's voice sounds like, or I can't even remember what Mason's voice sounds like. I couldn't even tell you what college they went to, or even if they went to college. I literally cannot remember. I, in fact, forgot they even existed until I heard they were doing a podcast, and I just clicked it, and now I'm listening. I expect that could be the majority of our viewers, people that really know us in real life.
That's probably true.
I think the first time we have somebody listening to this podcast that doesn't even know what our faces looks like, that's a milestone to me.
We will have made it. I mean, that's the start of the exponential growth of our fame.
Yeah. I mean, that's when things really actually pick up. I would like to hope that we have a podcast, because initially I'm going to be uploading these to YouTube, although they are intended not to be a visual media. There will sometimes, there could be like a time lapse going, or there could be pictures, or even like a video of something benign or something. But I do intend for these to be a primarily audio form of media. So intended, you can get the full effect just with headphones. Although occasionally there might be something where like we do something and I put the picture on the YouTube video, so you can go and look at that. Do you want to talk a little bit about why we're making this? Because I've thought a little bit about this. Why? I guess I'll ask you, why are you making a podcast with me? When I suggested this to you a couple months ago, why did you say yes?
To be honest, I would say this is mostly for our little brother Sawyer. That's kind of why I wanted to do it, so that we could.
For Sawyer, okay.
In my mind, when you first pitched the idea to me, you said we got to talk about your first couple days of college. You can, when it's still raw and you're still confused and you don't know what's going on. We kind of missed that deadline, but when you sold me on that, I was
it's only been what, like 1 month?
It's been 2 months.
No, it. Oh yeah. No, it's been 1 full month, I'd say, because you started.
We're 8 days away from 2 months. I moved in on the 15th of August, 2018.
True. Yeah, I wanted to get started a lot earlier, but we had just so many speed bumps with the mic issues, and yeah.
But yeah, no, I wanted to make it for Sawyer with the hopes that he could have the combined force of your wise knowledge with my naive observations tied into making his college experience greater than the sum of both of our parts. Because I know that my college experience has already been essentially slingshotted forwards by having you and Elena here. Elena's our sister, for those of you listeners.
Yeah, for what, assuming we eventually get to those listeners that
true.
Don't know about Elena. Yeah, we have a sister.
We have a sister. Her name is Elena. Anyways,
she's wonderful. She's very nice. Very kind person.
2 of you have essentially slingshotted my college career already. I am miles ahead, I would say, of all my competitors and peers.
Competitors. That's a interesting philosophy to have in regards to your freshman colleagues.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're all fighting for the curve.
So that's what you'd say, just to sort of ease, so Sawyer can listen to this and get him more.
That's what it started as, and then, I've kind of transitioned into thinking of it as an audio time capsule for myself, which I really like the sound of, because I've always meant to start writing like little notes to myself about my days at the end of every day, and it's a very difficult habit for me to start. But this audio one, I think that it might be easier to keep up with.
And it's a little more genuine. And when you're hearing someone's voice, it's a big step up from like reading their post on Facebook.
That's true.
When you hear their voice, you can hear emotion. You can hear they're happy, they're hopeful, or they're extremely sad or regretful or anxious, or you can hear emotion more than you can when you're reading someone's Facebook post.
Very much so. Very much so.
So you'd say that's why?
That's why I'm happy to do it right now. Why? Excuse me. Why would you say that? Why do you want to do it right now?
Yeah, I would say definitely. I do think Sawyer could be someone that would listen to this. Although honestly, Sawyer's going through a phase of the extreme ADHD sort of gaming like hardcore. I wonder if he'd even listen to these in their entirety. I could see him just sort of clicking through them. I do think that eventually he'd get around to listening to them. Sawyer,
Yeah.
hi, hope you're listening. Glad to have you here. Actually, I take that back. I think Sawyer will listen to these, because he's so close to home. We're literally his older brothers. He knows us, and it's a good way to keep in touch. I hope Sawyer's listening to this. That I would say Sawyer is definitely one of the reasons I'm doing this, but I would say probably the biggest reason for me is the time capsule idea. I think it's not even impossible that one of our or many of our kids could listen to this. Our grandkids, this could be something like after, and this is getting real ambitious here. After we're gone, we died at age 120. Our great grandkids are like, did you know great grandpa Forrest, God bless his soul? Assuming our great grandkids aren't all atheists, the general trend would suggest maybe they will be. But, but our great grandpa Forrest and his brother are, I forget even the term for that, but great uncle Mason. I don't even think that's the right term. They used to do a podcast together? Just two average guys. And they listen to it and they find out what life was like. And for some reason that's appealing to me. The idea of legacy almost. Although that's, again, very ambitious. But
that is very ambitious, but not impossible.
Not impossible. And I think when you run the risk versus reward on that, it comes out astoundingly reward because there is almost no risk.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
As long as we don't say anything compromising and run for the Supreme Court.
Exactly. Although after this court hearing, and I don't want to get into it too much now, but after this one, in the precedent's been almost set that you can
do whatever you want.
You can always find dirt on someone from way far back. But but we'll get into that later. And then I suppose another reason I'd like to do it is just for people that are genuinely interested in our lives. Some of the people we were close to in high school that perhaps we don't talk to so much as more not by any like deliberate choice of our own. Just sometimes life sort of drives people apart, which is sad, deeply sad. Especially when I think about the kids that I used to hang out with all the time, and now it's been so long. Not by any fault of either of ours. Just life, man. It happens.
Just time passes. Life goes on.
But yeah, I would say those are probably the big reasons I was thinking I would do this. And then also maybe mom and dad can listen to it. And also I think it's important to realize that there are different angles to people. And I think some people might only see me in certain instances. Like for example, maybe somebody that I'm a fraternity brother with would never really know what goes on. You know what I mean? Like they only see you doing frat shit. And I wouldn't even consider that at all part of my identity is like frat shit. Like there are certain things that I do hold dear, I suppose, memories and friendships. But I mean, some of those guys probably would never even heard this. Although honestly, many of those guys probably would never even ever listen to this. I'd say 99% of them probably would never ever listen to this. But
if you're one of them, you're in the minority. If
you're one
glad
of them,
to have you.
Yeah, AKDB, bro. So then, all right, I'd like to move on. How has college been so far then? For I guess your first 1.8 months.
It's been good. It's been very busy. I would say that would be the adjective I would use is busy. Is that an adjective? Is busy an adjective?
Yeah. A general rule of thumb, I was an English major for a year, is if you can say I was very blank, it's an adjective. I was very busy. I was very pretty. I was very fat.
Okay.
If you can be very something, it's an adjective.
Good to know. Good to know.
General rule of thumb. There are probably holes in it, as there are in everything language. That's another thing I learned in English. There are holes in every rule.
For the most part, it feels like I just don't have enough time to get what I need to get done. But I know I do have time. It's just wasting little bits. But like having a girlfriend out of town is a huge drain on time. Like, let me run through my last 4 weekends, and then my next 3 weekends from now. So 4 weekends ago, I visited my girlfriend in Iowa City at the University of Iowa, where she goes. Then the following weekend, I went to Mason City, my hometown, to see my family because my girlfriend went home and I wanted to see her. And then the following weekend, she came to Ames and hung out with me here. This weekend, I went home to hang out with my family because I had extended family and she was here. Next weekend, I'm going to Minneapolis with the Gaffers Guild to essentially receive a lesson on how to blow glass. The Gaffers Guild is a glass blowing club here at Iowa State campus. I'm not sure if it's like a nationwide club all called Gaffers, but the weekend following that, I'm running my marathon, concluding my almost 4 months of training now. And then the weekend after that, I might just maybe get to stay in Ames and lie low. So that's 6 weekends. The 6 weekends in a row that I've got things going on out of town.
I love that I asked you how college has been so far, and the only thing you've talked about so far has been rowing.
Well, not just rowing. I talked about the Gaffers Guild for a second.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I was.
Yeah,
I guess the dear listener couldn't understand that because I can't see, but I just went to the bathroom real quick. So
I just kept talking. But
I'm glad you did. I'm gonna make it easier for me when I edit this.
The classes, they're not necessarily difficult yet.
What's your hardest one? Well, actually, here, give us a quick list. What classes are you in?
I'm in landscape design. I don't know the number on it. It's like Hort.
Yeah.
270 something.
Okay.
And then I have Calc 1, which is Math 165. Then I have Greek and Roman mythology, classical studies, whatever, something.
Classic.
Yeah. And then I have Engineering 160, which is undecided Engineering 160, which is an introductory engineering class for all the undecided engineering majors. And then I have Chem 165, which is chemistry for engineers. And then I have Engineering 101, which is an engineering seminar.
Okay, so it sounds like you have 3 actual tough classes: chemistry, calculus, and engineering 160.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah. And honestly, I would bet for you, having taken all the way... Didn't you take all the way up to Calc 3 already?
I have taken all the way up to differential equations.
Yeah, so I would assume Calc 1 is probably not giving you too much of a hard time. And you took chemistry in high school, didn't you?
Yes, I took chemistry and AP chemistry in high school.
Yeah, so that's probably not even too hard. I would bet 160 is probably the one that's giving you the most grief. Would you say that's true? Or
I would agree. Chemistry so far has been pretty easy. I actually have an exam tomorrow, so I'll give you an update on that next podcast on how that went. But the first exam was a breeze. Just a review of high school stuff. Calc is... The concepts are easy. Not easy, but they're familiar. However, some of the applications require viewing mathematics in a way that I have not ever had to do so. So interpreting the problems is sometimes a bit difficult. Not so difficult that it's hanging me up too much, because I'm doing very well, I would say.
Yeah,
but
well,
I mean, as expected, considering how much
you've
math
already
I've
done
taken.
it all.
Yeah.
What I remember, because I took AP Calc in high school as well, and I got A's both semesters in high school. Then I came here and I took it again here, and holy cow, it was tough. It's the exact same material, but just like so much harder. It'd be like when you
Mm-hmm.
learn about multiplication in like fourth grade or whatever, and all of a sudden you go from doing like 4 times 5 to doing like 13.3 to 14.7 or something like that. Like you're time 13.3 times
Yeah,
14.7.
I
Like
mean
all
it's
of
the
a sudden it's
same
way
same
harder.
concepts, but the application is significantly more difficult.
Yeah, like some of the integrals you guys will be doing later on. My God, they're just a pain. Like you got to spend hours just memorizing these like inverse trig function integrals, and oh God, it's not ideal. What are some of the bigger differences you've noticed from going from the Mason City High School to Iowa State College's classes?
The exams are way harder. The it seemed in high school the problems that you did in class and like the homework problems and such always went harder than what was on the exam. Like if you did all those problems, you understood them all. The exam was super easy. Um, Here I've done all like I do all the homework problems, and they're not difficult. They're not very difficult. All the problems in class are not very difficult, and then you get to the exam, and the problems they give you, and they give you the problems, and they're in a whole nother league from it seems like all the ones that I've done leading up to it. So I'm forced to take like the skills that I learned doing the practices and such and apply them differently to the new problem. So I would say the exams are definitely the biggest difference. The amount of homework is also different. Instead of like little assignments every night, it tends to be just one bigger assignment each week that might take significantly more time.
Mm-hmm. Do you have those online homeworks for like calc?
Yeah, Calc and Chem I have online.
Oh God, I remember those just sucked.
Yeah.
Just sucked because you would spend so long, and maybe you haven't gotten to this point, but when I would do it, I would spend so long doing a couple questions. It gets extremely ridiculous once you get into like physics or statics or any of those kind of like more physicsy classes. But you'd spend so long on a question, and then you'd enter it in, and it'd be wrong, and you'd get 0 out of however many points, and then it would tell you the right answer, and you would have been point like 0.05 off. Like
Yeah.
just because you didn't enter it in perfectly right, some rounding error somewhere, now your grade is hurt, and that just sucked. Especially, I'm not even kidding. Some of the problems I would spend hours, like I'm talking like 2 to 3 hours on one question, and at that point, I've since learned that's an ineffective way to study. If you're stuck for more than 15, 20 minutes, you got to go to someone to get help. The teacher's office hours, or an older student, or a TA, or somewhere. An SI would be wonderful for you. The supplemental instructions. Have you gone to any of those?
Not yet, but I keep meaning to, but then I never can fit them into my schedule, it seems.
Yeah, I would recommend them. I mean, I assume you're going to get an A in calc since you've already taken all the way through differential equations.
If I don't, I'm going to be beating myself up because
Yeah, you'd be
it
pretty
doesn't make
dumb.
any sense to take the class again and then
we
lower
can
my GPA.
we can make that one of the things we update the podcast. I want to make a little note. Every time we do a new episode, we'll ask you how calc is going.
Oh man, now I gotta keep that up. Gotta focus on that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually another thing I'd like to do with podcasts. That's one thing I like about some of my favorite podcasts is the sort of reoccurring elements, even if it's just for like 1 minute, one little comment, touching in on how something is. So like, how's calc doing? You know, every episode we can ask you, how's calc doing? And now we'll know. I'm going to make a little note of that right now.
How is calc doing? Well, as a baseline, right now, calc is good.
Yeah, you had one exam.
I've had one exam.
And I assume you got an A on it. Didn't you say that?
I got an 85 on it, which I was pretty upset about. But it was only because, with the curve, the average was 50%.
That's pretty typical.
And I got 85%. So hopefully the curve will take it up to an A. But I'm really beating myself up about that exam because all the points I got taken off were me just hamstringing myself by making the dumbest errors. Just like not like the instructions say do this and then using that do this and I only do the first part, or when you divide by a fraction, it was the same as multiplying it by the reciprocal, but I just didn't multiply by the reciprocal. I just multiplied by the same fraction.
Yeah, little dumb things. I assume you had extra time at the end?
Yeah, I not as much as I figured. It was a hour and a half long exam, and I think I had 15 minutes at the end.
Yeah. Did you go over the questions, or did you just leave early?
I always
Okay, good.
stay the entire time.
Good. I will never, ever accept those boneheads, or I guess accept maybe is not the right word, but I always think those guys are such boneheads that get done early and they just leave. Like, they want everybody to know that they are the first ones done. And in most cases, they probably aren't. They're just the first ones dumb enough to give up half the time that they could have used to double check their exams. I always will stay till almost the very end unless I am 100% confident. Unless the exam is so easy, I will stay. Even if I'm totally stuck on a question, I'll just sit there. Even if I'm not making any progress, I just have 20 minutes to think about that question. Mm-hmm. And at the very worst, I leave and I have thought about it enough that I maybe see the answer and it sticks better in my head, at the very least. But those guys are just boneheads. Any other big differences? Maybe anything outside of just classes? How's Helzer going? How's your dorm?
Helzer's all right.
And you don't have to give any specific names. If there's some weirdo, just call. We can just come up with some name for him.
No, there's not any weirdos. I just haven't interacted with them as much as I would like to. Mostly because on weekdays I do homework in my room. I leave my door open so I get some interaction with people walking by, but everyone's always in our den, like our chill zone, playing ping pong and stuff, and I just can't find the time to go in there as much as I would like to.
Well, having a long distance girlfriend definitely takes a lot of that time out.
That is a lot of time. My weekends are a period of time that I don't get to use on here in Ames as much.
Yeah. But have you had a single weekend where you've been here in Ames and not, like, Rowan hasn't been here as well, or family hasn't been here? Have you had one weekend yet where you just do something?
I did. Well, I had, I think, 3 of them right off the bat.
Well, that was because of sorority rush.
Yes, yeah, that was because
Rowan was all tied up.
It was rush week. And I spent, I think, 2 of them with you.
Those are some good weekends.
Those were some good weekends. Yeah, no, we recorded an episode.
That one doesn't even get a number.
Yeah, no.
That episode does not even get a number.
We tested out the microphones.
We tested the microphones for like 4 hours. But that episode, that one we could upload maybe at like episode 100. We could if we ever talk about it again, which we might never mention it again. But yeah, that one does not get a number. But other than that, so there's one weekend unaccounted for. You had 3 weekends without Rowan, and one of them was not with me.
Yeah, one of them was not with you.
What'd you do that weekend?
Of what I did. I met up with a high school friend actually, and we wandered
like
around.
A friend who was in high school, or
a friend who I graduated high school with.
Okay.
And we walked around like the Greek life area, as well as down by the bars, just to take in the scene. And then we found ourselves sitting on Curtis Hall steps, which is in Center Campus for those of you who might not know. Iowa State campus as well. And I was telling him about the Iowa State, like, I don't want to call it tradition, but like Curtis de beer cheer, where you run naked across Central Campus. And we were both kind of like saying to each other, like, this isn't real. Like, this is just something.
You don't think it's real?
Well, I'm getting to that. I told him, like, this is just something
let me guess. You saw someone do it.
We saw like 10 people do it.
Yeah, it happens.
No, I was telling him, we were talking, we're like, people don't do that. Like, that's just some upperclassman trying to get me to take my clothes off and run across Central Campus like idiot.
That would be a smart upper class. Maybe that's how it started.
Maybe that could be how it's... Anyway, like,
The
clock strikes midnight, and then out of nowhere, just 10 people come shooting out of the side of the building across Central Campus, butt naked. And it has to be one of the weirdest experiences I've had of my entire life.
Mm-hmm. That's weird. Yeah. You think you'll ever do it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I almost give it 100%.
Yeah. I did it.
How was it?
Oh, God. Bit of a blur, to be honest. I remember some people brought my... How did I do it? I'm trying to remember, because I remember my clothes were waiting for me at the end. And I only had one set of clothes. So either... And now keep in mind, if you're a cop listening to this trying to get me for indecent exposure, this story could be fictitious. Disclaimer. I can't remember if I took off my clothes and then... No, I definitely... How did I do it? Because I remember my clothes were waiting for me at the end, and maybe we did it 2 times there and back. I don't remember, but I did it, is the point. This was a while ago, okay? My memory's not gone just because of the state of things. Well, just a disclaimer, but it was like 2 years ago. But my God. Yeah, it was fun. We did it. It was me and a couple other people. It was fun. I'd recommend it. Just don't get caught. Although, honestly, the cops and names they're pretty cool. You know, they're not trying to screw you. They're usually very good about stuff like that. And I would assume cops aren't gonna... They're gonna look the other way if they stumbled upon someone doing that, I would think. Just because it is sort of an Iowa State like tradition type thing. You had ever in your... that was a bit of a word jumble. Have any of your friends ever had any bump-ins with the cops, or have you seen any incidents with the cops since coming to Iowa State so far?
I'm trying to think.
Because I remember my first night, I had an incident with the cops. Not personally. I did see it personally. I wasn't in trouble or anything, but I had run-ins with the cops from day one, and it was pretty frequent. We saw the cops.
I don't think so. I mean, there was a police officer in our hall. I think someone got something stolen out of the room.
Oh, God. That's the worst, man. When there's a thief and no one knows who it is. Oh, God.
It was only a one-time event, so I doubt that it was someone on the floor. Although, you never know. It could be like a sleeper cell of thieves.
Sleeper cell of dorm thieves. Because my first time, I'll tell the story real quick. I was in my dorm, and I had a random roommate, and I didn't know him very well. His name was Nick. He's a really cool guy. I really like him. I actually got a beer with him a week ago. Really nice guy. Really like him. Really grew on me. We became really good friends. Anyway, enough about Nick. So, our neighbors, in reference to the room right next to ours, all of a sudden we hear this hubbub. We stick our heads out the door, and there's cops there, and there's some girls there, and they're carrying this guy. And he had been date raped at a party, and I don't mean to perpetuate any stereotypes, it just happened to be Pike, and he had been date raped at a party at Pike. The very, first weekend. Or maybe it wasn't even a weekend. I honestly can't remember specifics, but maybe it was even just a weekday. But the cops were going to take him to the hospital, or the RA or the CA on duty was going to take him to the hospital because he was unresponsive. And the cops, they basically were like, well, we've seen this stuff before. If he has any friends around and they'll sign this paper saying they'll watch after him for the night, we won't take him to the hospital. And that's pretty expensive to do. It's pretty expensive to take him to the hospital. And my roommate and I, Nick and I, were like, well, we've talked to this kid a little bit. So we signed the paperwork. We watched after him for the night. And I mean, that was... The cops were super nice. I mean, they could have taken this kid to jail for underage drinking. I mean, he clearly had drank a little bit. They could have, but they just made sure he was safe. They made sure he was okay. I mean, he wasn't going to hurt himself or anyone. He was just going to sleep for the rest of the night. They just made sure he was safe. But that was my first encounter, I think, with the cops at college. Sort of weird, huh?
That is weird.
Yeah, kind of weird. Definitely it was a really quick wake-up call that stuff like that can happen to anyone. You don't just have to be some hot chick. It can happen to anyone. Just even an accident. Just maybe they're aiming for someone and they missed and they got this guy. And that's pretty freaky. Imagine if those girls hadn't gotten him home. He could have just fallen asleep or stumbled into a road. No idea where he was. Gotten hit. It's scary stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. Should we use this as not a great segue, but I'd like to talk about the career fair, and I'm done talking about that. Would you like to talk about the career fair?
I would love to talk about the career fair. We almost have to discuss because we did the prequel and the prequel V2.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah. All right. So right now, before I edit any of those clips in, I'll give the quick synopsis. So basically, Mason and I wanted to start this podcast like a month ago. We had technical difficulties with the microphones and other stuff like that. But eventually we got them to kind of work, but not as well as they're working now. And even now, they're not working as well as we want them to be working. This will be our worst episode, hopefully. But we recorded a little pre-episode to this episode that I'm going to edit in, and I'll do that in a little bit here. But of us just talking before going to the career fair about what we expected the career fair to be like and stuff like that. And honestly, it was probably poorly planned. There was a lot of dead time in the podcast because it was literally just like us talking about it. Not that this is any different, but I'll probably only edit in like maybe 10, 15 minutes of that, but I'll put that in. Should I just do it now?
Yeah, just put it in. Should we just snap?
Well, first, I'll give a little synopsis or a little summary of what the career fair is, because some people might not know. So here at Iowa State, the career services puts on a career fair once a semester for each of the colleges. So engineering and business and even animal science. There's a bunch of them. The engineering one's definitely the biggest one. There's over 1,000 employers, I think, that come in total to the Hilton Coliseum or the Sheeman building, and you go there and you talk to them. You can get up close with the employers and try and make a case for yourself to get hired. And so Mason and I were planning on going to that. Obviously, we wanted to get jobs, as so many people do. So that's what that is. I'll put in the clips right now of Mason and I talking about the career fair beforehand. Enjoy. This is the last thing I'll say, Forrest in the present. All right, so today is Sunday, September 16th. We had a lot of microphone issues, which we spent the past hour and a half not figuring out, but we decided instead of having two microphones, one for each of us, we would just share one microphone because we couldn't get two microphones that were the exact same type of microphone to work on the computer. The computer couldn't tell them apart. So now we're here. But since Mason hasn't gone to a career fair ever, I thought it would be extremely interesting to hear some talk about that before going, and then now we can go to the career fair this Tuesday in 2 days, and we can talk about it afterwards. So I just thought we'd record a little bit now of us talking to get some virgin opinion on the career fair. You excited for the career fair?
I'm very excited.
Here, come get your mouth a little closer to this mic, or we won't be able to hear you this whole time.
All right. Well, hope I'm close enough now. I'm pretty stoked to go to the career fair. It's an opportunity for a lot of money.
For a lot of money.
A lot of money.
That's what you think of it as?
That's
money.
What I mean.
Money pit.
Yeah, I mean, you score an internship now, you make money over the summer. Then it looks good to make money in the future. That's what this is.
It's a money-making machine. That's why you're an engineer and make money.
No, but I am looking to make money. An engineer does offer money.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone, but I don't want to be an intern for the rest of my life. I want to be an engineer, and being an intern makes being an engineer easier in the future.
Okay.
So
sure, yeah, I suppose technically, yeah, that's true.
Putting that resume made me realize that I really haven't done much.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my resume is pretty weak, but then you compare mine with yours. Zoinks.
Well, I mean, you've been in the real world for 4 years.
I've been in the real world for like 1 year, engineering-wise.
I haven't even been in it for at all. And I still have 3D printing experience, so...
Do you have 3D printing experience?
Yeah, got bumped to the next page.
Oh, it's
Mild
it's on page
experience-
2. It's on page 2.
Mild experience with Fusion 360.
That's not 3D printing.
3D modeling, it's this...
Not at all the same. There's a huge difference between fused deposition modeling and 3D modeling on a computer.
Yeah, my name's Forrest. Let me Dr. Berg you and hit you with some stuff
Hit
that
you with
you have no chance of knowing.
Fused deposition modeling. That's true. I did kind of Bob Berg you there.
Mm-hmm.
That was a fair call out. I'll accept that. That was fair.
I got bobbed.
You got Dr. Bob, where I just hit you with a big word that you couldn't possibly know. Fused deposition modeling it's usually just called FDM printing. That's just what all 3D printers do.
Oh, okay.
Because it's fused.
Oh, like
fused
deposition gets fused with
like a deposit of plastic is fused with another layer of plastic. So it's fused deposition modeling. So you're modeling by fusing deposits of plastic.
No, that makes sense.
So it is straightforward, but yeah, that was a fair call out. You caught me. I Dr. Bobbed you. Dr. Bobbed you.
OG Bobbied. No, I probably can't say that.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think the career fair is gonna be like? Like what when you like physically, like setting wise, you walk in, what do you see in your mind's eye? Having never gone, what do you think you'll see?
Well, my opinion is pretty skewed because we saw 5 pictures in the engineering class.
I bet everyone was smiling at them. But everyone was having a great time.
Yeah, everyone was hustling and bustling. There was no one even like looking at the camera. It was just the basketball.
The Hilton Coliseum.
Yeah, the basketball Coliseum, Hilton. Just filled with people and booths.
Yeah, it is.
To like the brim, and it was crawling. There was not a speck of ground you could see because it's just covered in people.
Yeah, we got to make sure we take some pictures there together, and we can put them in the podcast. That'd be cool to look at.
Yeah, that would be cool to look at.
That'd be kind of neat. But yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty accurate. It's literally like the entire basketball court is covered in booths. The entire building is like inside the actual building is covered in booths. Like the second floor, the third floor, it's all just booths. And then there will be 2 or 3 people from the company there waiting to talk to you. And there will be some companies just nobody's heard of, nobody cares about, or they're just like infamous for having just awful internship programs, and nobody will talk to them. So there will just be 3 people standing there in their booth awkwardly while no one talks to them, and you always feel a little bad for them. But they're just there. And then there will be like Boeing or 3M or one of those huge companies, and then they'll have a line of like 100 people, depending on the time of day. So if you want to talk to Boeing, you got to stand there, and you got to just stand in line, holding your little stack of resumes you're giving out in your suit. You probably won't know the people in line with you, so maybe you'll make small talk. You should try and make small talk if you can. But sometimes they don't even want to. Sometimes they just consider, like, there are people at these career fairs that just see everybody else at the career fair as just competition. Like, they're just, it's a bit negative. It's a bit, yeah. But, and then you get all the way to the front, and they just talk to all these people who are even, like, graduate students will be there, like seniors, juniors, sophomores, all of them outrank you. You know, and this was me as well last year. Like I might have been a senior, but I was essentially in my first semester of engineering. So they all outranked me, and I was in this awkward situation as well, where, what year are you? Oh, I'm a senior. Oh, so what are you doing for your senior design project? Well, I'm in differential equations and like Thermo 1. Like, cut me some slack. I have no idea. And then all of a sudden it's all awkward, and it's like, ugh.
Yikes.
So you get all the way to the front of your line, and you do your little elevator speech, which we can talk about, I guess, because I would assume you don't really have one.
I have no idea what to say. What I would say is someone in an elevator.
Yeah, so you get up there, and you shake their hand, and you focus so hard on doing a nice firm handshake, don't crack. Make sure your hand's dry, you don't want to be sweating. You don't want them to know how nervous you are. Hi, I'm Mason Berg. I am looking. Will you pay me, please? I'll do anything for money. Like, that's what you want to say. You want to say, how much do you pay? Like, I will literally do anything for money and experience. Just give anything. You want somebody who will sit at a cubicle and do SolidWorks all day. I'll be that guy. I don't care. Just give me anything to put on my resume and pay me money. Like. But you don't say that.
Of course not. No, that'd come off as a wee bit desperate.
Yeah, and which you are, but you don't want it. You're not as desperate as you could be, but you do really. You want something, And then they talk to you for a little bit just to be polite, and then after like 1 minute, you essentially get shooed away.
And they put your resume in the trash can.
And then they put you.
Because you're unqualified.
They don't put it in the trash. That would be too rude. They put it on the top of the stack. So here's a trick that I actually learned from that guy. If they like you, they'll put your resume in a different spot than everyone else's. That'll be the bottom of the stack, usually. So that way, when the time comes, they're like, all right, let's see your 10 best candidates. They just go through the bottom 20 resumes, and they pick from there. Instead of, Does that make sense? Yes. And then everyone else's just gets set on the top of the stack, which almost essentially never gets reviewed. Because these companies, like the big companies, they, honest to God, probably get like a couple hundred resumes at one day of a career fair. There's no way they review all those. I bet the guys that are doing the recruiting literally automatically toss. They never even get reviewed by another person. They never even get read by another person. They probably never even get read all the way through by the recruiter.
That's probably true. So
you just blow it that quick.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But
it's intense.
It's reassuring because there are 400 companies there?
Probably more, honestly. Probably more this year because there's 2 days.
So, my odds are if I have a 50% chance, half of a percent chance at each one, then I am guaranteed 2 internships.
Interesting line of thinking, flawed, because the amount of time it takes to talk to everyone is such that you couldn't talk to that many in a day. You probably will only be able to talk to 20 companies, and that is a maximum. That is like wishful thinking. I think the most I talked to was probably, I think, last spring when I went. Maybe it was last fall. But I went and I just was like, this sucks. This is awkward. I'm not qualified for really anything. I'm just going to try and talk to as many companies as I possibly can. So I would literally go, I did my research on a couple, and then the ones that I really researched, the big ones, I get there and the wait is over an hour. So I'm like, well, I'm not qualified really. I'm probably not even going to get this job. I'm not going to waste over an hour waiting in line for a 2-minute conversation. I'm instead going to go and try and rapid fire as many of these short lines as I possibly can. So I would see a company. I was like, that recruiter looks pretty nice. They look pretty cool. Their background, their company name sounds cool. And I'd look them up, and if they were cool, they were something I was somewhat interested in. I would read about them for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'd go up and hi, my name's Forrest Berg. I read a little bit about your company. I really think this stuff you do with this is cool. I'm really interested in your internship program. Could you tell me a little bit about what that'd look like if I was an intern at your company? And they're like, oh, yeah. And they talk to me a little bit, and then they find out I'm totally underqualified, and you get exposed as a new engineer who is essentially useless and just would need to be trained. Essentially useless is not true, but it'd be more work to train some kid who has just started engineering than it would be somebody who is on their second or third year.
That's true. Yeah. So I say that we employ the incel method of...
The incel method?
Yeah, the involuntary celibate method of getting it. And we just scrape the bottom of the barrel.
And we just go to all
anything to get an internship. and we go to
All the short lines.
all the short lines.
No, I think if you and I are there together, and I already set it up great. My Tuesday, I got nothing. I don't even have to. I have like a class in the morning, and after that, from noon to the end of the career fair, we can just go there, and we can honestly have fun a little bit even.
I have a class at 1 that I have to go to. I have a class at noon,
What class is it?
Noon to 1. It is my math
Recitation.
And we take a quiz, and I need to stack up as many points as I can on it for these exams. But I also have a chem recitation, but I can skip that because they drop you bottom for quiz scores.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
yeah, you'll be fine then.
So I can be there at 1.
All my classes got canceled for the engineering fair. I even got an exam rescheduled for the career fair.
That's cool.
And the exam was on Thursday. The career fair is on Tuesday. And they canceled it because so many people in upper level engineering have interviews that they're preparing for those days.
That's cool.
Because the process of getting a job through the career fair is usually you go to the career fair, you hopefully make a good impression, and then if you're lucky, you get, and you did make a good impression, then they call you up or they text you or they email you and they set up an interview within the next day or two on campus, and then you do your interview, and if that goes well, then you'll get an internship or a co-op or a full-time position or whatever you're applying for. But that's the way it usually works. So that's why my exam got rescheduled, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I think we just need to spend an entire day there. We'll bring our laptops maybe. Because waiting in these lines, it'll be so much better having someone there. And we'll probably go off by ourselves for decent chunks here and there, but yeah.
I got a pretty nice, they call it a padfolio.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The thing you hold your resumes in.
Yeah,
I got one of those somewhere around here. I gotta dig that bad boy up.
Got it for free. Paid
Nice.
$10,000 for a semester at college, and you get a free $20 folder.
Nice. They really
They
treat you.
Yeah, no, I'm a king here.
Yeah. Well, here. How about this? You want to practice your elevator speech? Let's hear your hot take on an elevator speech. So pretend I'm Elon Musk, and I'm recruiting for SpaceX. SpaceX is not at our career fair, I don't think, and also Elon Musk would not be the person recruiting. But
that'd be cool if it was. Although he's kind of a goofy looking dude. Have you ever seen pictures of him? He's got
yes, of course I've seen pictures of Elon Musk.
He's a weird looking dude. Like if you see him from like the shoulders up, he looks pretty normal. But if you see his whole body at once,
he kind of looks like Kylo Ren in that one scene.
That's exactly how I would describe it. Speaking of Kylo Ren, there's a kid that I have like 5 classes with who looks exactly like Kylo Ren. He even got the big old nose and.
Oh God.
Anyway, that's not the point. My elevator speech.
Yeah, so I'm here, and I'm, I know you're awkward, and I'm loving it. I'm like,
let me think for a moment.
Another awkward. I'll say Elon's thoughts out loud while you're thinking, not to psych you out. Great. Another awkward freshman who wants to come get a job.
All right. Basically, my only knowledge of an elevator speech is exactly what you said about 2 minutes ago. So we're gonna go for that.
They haven't prepared you any more than that.
No.
Not even. You have engineering 101, don't you?
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about it at all.
Nope. They said. Jeez.
You
just gotta learn an elevator speech. Is what you tell someone in like a minute ride, like as if you were in an elevator with them. And then they moved on to what goes on our resume, and then. The next time we met in class, they had civil engineers come and talk to us.
Jesus.
Yeah, no. So, hopefully this will set me above everyone else then, if I have a good one.
Yeah, we'll get both of us sharp. Both of us will have good and we'll probably practice a lot after just this podcast. We'll probably
Tuesday morning we'll get together and just
Tuesday because it's freaky, man. You get there and there's like thousands of other students. Thousands.
And they all
want the job, and they all are your competition. They all want you to be psyched out. That's not true. Not all of them. Some of them are good, but they all benefit from you doing poorly today.
Yikes.
to put it as like bluntly as possible.
All right, so hi, Mr. Musk. I'm Mason Berg.
Hello.
That was the sound of a firm handshake, but not too firm.
I would say that was good.
With a dry hand.
Yeah, your handshake definitely passed. I'd give you an A+ on the handshake.
Well, it can only go down then. Anyways.
Yeah, especially your elevator pitch is consisting of this.
Okay, well.
You can't get stunned like that. We can't.
I'm phased. I've been phased out. I see what you're doing with your electric cars. I think it's really sweet.
Yeah, what do you like about them?
I like the fact that you're shooting for an environmentally friendly view.
That's you like the environment?
Yeah, but I'm also a huge fan of the fact that you are trying to not make sacrifices when it comes to the performance of the car, which I think is a huge step because nobody wants to buy an electric car if it drives like a Prius.
What's wrong with the Prius?
I mean, nothing's wrong. I mean, you can accelerate. You go like 0 to 60 in like 24 seconds. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But you don't get the same oomph as when you put the pedal down, even in like a 2004.
Your elevator speech is going down.
Yeah, no, it's good on a rabbit hole. But that's what
I don't even know what year you're. I don't even know what year you are.
Hi, I'm a freshman. I'm a
graduate. What major are you?
I'm undecided engineering, and I want an internship.
That is going to be hard.
I would do anything for money.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. It is definitely going to be tough for you, being that your major is undecided engineering, to hide the fact that you are like an inexperienced young lad.
I could put a sticker on and say I'm mechanical.
You could. I have extra stickers.
I could just stop by the
registration thing.
I think I could like sneak it in there instead of saying like I'm.
No, I mean nobody's gonna be policing. Nobody's gonna be like.
I'm saying like in my speech, instead of saying like I'm a mechanical engineer, say like I'm interested in being a mechanical engineer.
You could sneak it in. I mean,
instead of
I would probably just say it. Do you think you're gonna become a mechanical engineer?
I think there's a good chance.
What % chance?
70.
70? Yeah, I think mechanical is a good one to go with because it's so broad. And when you're kind of on like when you're on like one of the harder engineerings, like mechanical is one of the harder ones, it's much easier just to fall off and trickle down to one that's a little easier, like industrial or something. Like if you were to go 2 years into mechanical and then switch to industrial, you wouldn't be that far behind. But if you were to go in a couple of years into industrial and decide to go to mechanical, you'd be behind.
It's good to know.
Most likely, depending on the classes you took, because industrials will stop as far as like math or like I don't think they have to take dynamics or thermo 2 or fluid dynamics. None of that stuff you have to take.
Yeah.
But so I'd say that'd be a good choice. Yeah, if I were you, I don't know. I'd just say you're mechanical. Because almost every building there, you'll see the booths will have like a sign up that says like which majors they want to hire. Almost all of them will have mechanical on there. Almost every single booth will have that red star for mechanicals. And we're the red star. Like how cool is that? Mechanical engineers have the red star. That's cool compared to like some sort of other like a yellow dot or something.
Yeah.
I don't know which one that is. I probably just like subtly talk shit about a different major. I didn't even realize it. But
you sure there's no bias here because you're mechanical?
No, I'm unbiased in every way.
Not
every possible way. No, I feel no bias.
I get that. I think we should start wrapping this up.
Yeah, I think so as well. I'm trying to think about anything that we.
Do you want to run through some companies that you might be interested in getting an internship at?
No, I don't think I have a great list on that yet. I mean, I'd like Cargill, but
are they one of the?
Yeah, they're one of the nice employees ones that I was talking about. Realistically, we just did this for like 40 minutes. I'll probably cut out almost all of it except for like 10 or 15 minutes.
Just like this part right now.
This part right now will almost certainly be cut out.
Where I say the word penis, it's gonna get cut out.
Well, now I might have to leave it in.
Yeah.
Just for that, just to expose you as someone who says the P word.
Oh golly.
Because I would never say that. I've never.
done for it. I don't know how I'm gonna.
Well, no, that wouldn't. I was gonna say if you could ask yourself a question from after the career fair Mason to Mason currently, what would you ask yourself?
Are you happy? Because right now I don't know what's gonna make me happy. If I get an internship and I have to go somewhere that's might be some distance away, that might be kind of hard. And I don't know if that's totally what I want.
If you had to move to Alaska for your only internship opportunity, and I'm talking Alaska, like
to be honest,
this is a long commute from Rowan.
I mean I could handle it. Like,
and there's no cell phone service or internet.
There's no way there's no internet.
This is Alaska, man. Okay, fine. You get to send like an email every day. That's it.
No, with an email a day, I could survive. It wouldn't be the best summer of my life, but I would come out with another bullet point on my resume, which is important.
Probably a lot more than one bullet point.
Because my resume needs a couple bullet points. And I'd come out with a lot of money, hopefully. I mean, it really depends. Like, if I was going there to make $13 an hour, I don't know if I'd do that. I could stay.
For $13 an hour? No, don't do that.
Yeah,
you can make that much working at McDonald's.
Yeah. I mean, but for that amount of money, I might as well stay here, take classes, work a job, and volunteer for some bullet points.
I guess.
Bullet points aren't hard to find. You just have to be willing to find them. If you were going to ask yourself something, what would you ask yourself?
I'd ask myself, which company should I go to and what order should I go to them in? Because it's always important to go you got your big companies that you really want to work for, your number one and number two. Never go to them first. Go to some warm-up companies, talk to a couple people, get yourself warmed up, get the rust knocked off, get the awkward out of you, maybe get into the groove a little bit. Then go talk to the big company. So I would ask myself, which company should I talk to and in what order should I talk to them?
Wait, are we asking ourselves, like, before we go into the career fair? Or like,
No, I'm asking myself after the career fair. Why would I ask myself before the career fair? That's basically me right now.
I mean, after the career fair, when you answer this, like, as soon as this section's done, because these are going to be put together into one podcast.
Oh, then we could just answer it.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But if you answer it then, like, it's not going to do you any good to answer that, Like, you already going to know the outcome, knowing what order you should go into. It's not going to help if you answer it then, Cause
I see. We're asking. Oh, yeah, this kind of turned out kind of interesting. So you're saying you need to ask your future self a question, and that question is, are you happy? Because you're worried. You're worried your future self is going to have lost track of your own happiness.
Yeah.
In 2 days. You're worried that you are going to lose your...
I know. I think that I'm chasing a path right now that might not be what... Like, this summer I might not want an internship this summer. The more I think about it, like...
Yeah, that'd be fine. I mean, it'd be good for you to get one.
Oh, no, I know that it'd be great for me. I know that I should want one. Like, there's no reason not to. Not only are the chances, like, against me to get one, but having one would put me...
I wouldn't say they're against one. I'd say it's, like, extremely likely that you would get one if you do a good job on Tuesday. I would say it's almost guaranteed.
Well, the sticking point is if I do a good job, and I don't know if I'm capable
of
it's
doing
intense. A good job.
But I guarantee, because you do for a freshman student, you got a pretty decent resume, right? You got, like Mr. Mohawk, like a Student of the Year award or whatever. Like, you got a decently high school GPA. Like, you got volunteer experience, I hope, on there. You got a pretty good resume as far as the freshman, goes. So maybe they're looking for I bet they have a quota. I bet some companies are like, we want this many freshmen, this many sophomores, juniors, seniors. And if you're the best freshman candidate, definitely don't throw in the towel. Definitely don't just say, well, I probably won't get one, because you do have a pretty decent, I would say it's likely you'll get one if you actually put like the effort in on Tuesday and before Tuesday. I mean, researching
That's
companies.
That's the real. Before Tuesday. You should send me a list of the companies you're planning on.
They probably email you.
I mean, no, I know I can get a list of the companies, but like the ones that you are 100% going to stop at, that you think, I mean, that like, so that way we can plan to go to some booths
together in tandem.
Well, maybe not in tandem, because they'd be like, "Hi, I'm Forrestberg. I have this practice elevator speech," and I'd go, "Hi, I'm Mason." Right after it, I have this exact same because we practiced together.
Our elevator speeches won't be the same. The phrase elevator speech is sort of misleading, because I'm not going to shake hands with somebody in the elevator and be like, "Hey, my name is Forrestberg. I'm extremely interested in your company for these following reasons. Could you tell me a little bit more about this position?" I'm not going to do that in the elevator. Like, what?
That's true.
I think elevator speech refers to just the simple fact that it should be around 30 seconds, which is also not.
But what I'm saying is, if we do the same, if we research a company, we're going to know the same facts, and we're going to be standing in line, and we're going to be talking about these facts, and we're going to get up there and say, "I'm interested in these things about your company," and if we come up with the exact same like last name, looking pretty similar, and we say, "I'm interested in the exact same thing," it might, it would be kind of like a little bit weird. And then we might also put them in a position where like they have our resumes right next to each other, and they look at them and they go, "Well, we don't want to give this one a job and not this one because they're clearly brothers." And
I don't think that they make decisions like that.
Hey, you never know. I mean, it's a variable, and it's not a likely variable, but it could.
It could matter.
It could happen.
I think it'd be extremely unlikely. I think there are jobs that even you seem to think that like because I've worked as an engineer that's going to give me a huge advantage, but I think you'd be surprised. I think there are companies that would rather have a young person who they could keep giving internships to for a couple years. I think there are definitely going to be jobs out there that they could talk to both of us and they would take you instead of me.
I think they'd be dumb then, to be honest.
I don't think so.
Unless they just
It depends on the company. Right?
Unless they're literally looking
depends on what they want.
I don't know what they'd want from. I mean, unless they're literally just looking for me to be there for a length of time. If that's the point,
most companies are not looking to their interns to do like groundbreaking work. A lot of times they just want, maybe they even have you there to see how somebody else is, if they're good or bad at training someone. Maybe your position there is literally
to get trained.
My job
is to get trained. And
it could be. You don't know. I mean,
that wouldn't be a bad job to me.
Some of these companies, yeah, I have heard from a lot of my friends that they made tons of money and did very little because.
See, here, I'll put a brief section in. Like, my fear of an internship, right? Is they're going to expect me to know things that I don't know. And that always feels just awful. And
that's going to happen no matter what. Any internship you get, what do you think they're going to be like? Oh, can you do this simple derivative for us?
No.
We need you to derive this formula, please. No, they're going to be like, "Hey, can you solve this problem? Could you make this on CAD or something?" And you're going to be like, "Oh,
no, I cannot. I don't know CAD."
And then they'll be like, "Okay, sure, we'll teach you." Like that's why you're here. You're here to learn. We're here to assess if you're good at learning, if you're good at working with people.
I am pretty good at learning. Is all I've done my entire life. That's been my job up until now. Yeah. Is to learn, and I've done a decent job, I'd say.
Yeah.
But.
All right, let's cut this. I gotta go get a fish with Kaylee.
I gotta go learn how to code.
Well, that sucks, because learning to code sucks. Coding's kind of fun, but learning the code is sucky. All right, any parting words? This will be for sending it back to the actual podcast, which will be recorded once we have 2 mics. So this is almost like me saying goodbye to both ears, and I'm returning now to my respective ear, which hopefully is right. I'd like to be on the right ear.
I think that sounds good because I have trouble pronouncing the word right. I say it funny, so I'm going to stick with the left because I can say the word left. So should we do something like, should we say together like, all right, now this has been Mason and Forrest signing off, tossing it back to Mason and Forrest. Nah, that's some stupid stuff.
Well, yeah, no, let's say that. Let's say that. All right, hey, this has been Mason and Forrest No, yeah, you're right. That is stupid.
It sounds like super cheesy. We could do something more like.
No, let's just send it back. I'm editing it now. Well,
right.
This is back to you.
Farewell.
All right, and Forrest in the present is back.
Hope you enjoyed that.
I hope you enjoyed that. For us, that was 1 second of just us stopping talking, but I hope you enjoyed whatever we said there. Additionally, we brought one of the microphones to the career fair, and we had a little conversation in the heat of the career fair after talking to employers one day. Was that the first career fair or the second one? That was the
first.
That was the first career fair?
Yes.
Okay, we probably should have said that before we edited in whatever we said in that first little pre-podcast, but yeah, so there were 2 career fairs. It was after the first one you said?
Yeah, it was after the first one.
So here's a little bit, I'm not sure how long this will be, maybe a few minutes, but here's a little bit of us talking in the career fair. This is Mason and I in the career fair. Enjoy. All right, so Mason and I are sitting next to each other in the auditorium next to the Hilton Coliseum. What's this building called again?
The Sheeman Center.
The Sheeman Center. Mason called it the Seaman Center. I want that to be on the record, by the way. He was like, hey, let's head over to the Seaman Center and find ourselves a career. Interesting thing for Mason to say. But anyways, we just have been at the career fair for around 3 hours, maybe 2.5, I'd say.
Yeah, right about that.
It was a bit of a rainy day, but we managed to get in without getting wet at all. That was pretty sweet. We talked to... I'm not even sure. I think I talked to maybe 3 companies I actually researched ahead of time, and then I just got into a bunch of random conversations with maybe 3 additional ones. But right now, what I'm kind of looking for is, Mason, what is your hot take on the career fair? What were your first thoughts walking in?
My first thoughts, wow, this is extremely intimidating. It's just packed with people, all extremely dressed up, looking very professional. Sweating a ton because this is a very high pressure situation for some people, and then
for everyone, for us
that's
as well.
True.
It's high pressure for everyone.
And there's just employers everywhere, like literally back to back with like a small hallway in between them that's just crowded with people.
Yeah. At some points, it is so crowded. It took us like a solid 4 or 5 minutes just to cover 20 feet, just to walk 20 feet.
One thing that did surprise me is how the employers gave out trinkets and stuff. It was like I was at the club fair again, you know, like people are like, hey, come to us, we got bouncy balls, you know, like I'll give you a free bouncy ball if you talk to me. But it was like Rolls Royce and like Boeing and like big companies that were still giving away trinkets. I thought that was pretty weird.
Just goofy stuff that costs like less than $1. Yeah. Mason's holding in his hand right now a light up bouncy ball that was given to him by
Hill Phoenix.
What did Hill Phoenix do? What did that company do?
From what I got reading their poster, I didn't do any research on them because I didn't think I was going to talk to them. They are a civil and construction. They're taking civil and construction engineering students for internships, and they do civil and construction engineering.
Yeah. We did have one exciting thing happen as we were doing our first initial walkthrough of all the companies. A guy just kind of started talking to us, and I was making small talk with him, and then it grew into more than just small talk. We started talking about his company. The company was Alltech. And after we ended up getting into a really deep conversation, even introduced Mason, so then all of a sudden it was both of us talking to this guy. By the end of it, he ended up inviting both of us to a dinner, which is pretty exciting.
So we started out with a 1-for-1 on our record.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to one company, got one
dinner invitation.
Yeah, I'd say a dinner invitation's almost like
an interview.
I would consider, like, if I was talking to a company executive and they said, all right, let's have an interview, or they said, hey, come to dinner with me, I would almost feel more special with the dinner invitation.
That's true. But right now, the problem is it was a company that we hadn't planned on talking to, so we didn't know anything about them, and he knew that we didn't know anything about them. I was really good at pretending like I knew a little bit about them, but I couldn't quite fool him into thinking that I knew a lot about him just off the top of my head.
In our defense, we never even pretended that
Yeah.
we started off. He's like, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" We're like, "Oh, we're just looking around." And he's like, "Oh, would you mind if you want to talk?" And Forrest said, "Well, I don't feel totally prepared yet, but I'll definitely come back."
And then
And the guy just did not take that as a no, and he just kept talking.
he just kept going. He asked for our resumes. He looked at my resume, starts talking to me about work I had done. That was pretty cool. I'm looking up their company right now.
What did you say that the specialization is like? I'm trying to think of how he described it. It's like
Isn't it crazy how quick it just disappears
it's
from your
gone.
memory?
What do you like the trucks that they work on power lines with and such, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Um,
Yes, that's right. They do a lot. Yep. Okay. They do a lot with. He said they did a lot down in the hurricane.
yeah, like
with repairing
rebuilding.
stuff.
Yeah,
I don't
basically
know.
they build like the trucks that have baskets on cranes that they lift you up in the basket and you work on power lines or do things high in the air on the trucks. But they design and build the trucks. I'm a little bit confused though because it seems to me like all those trucks are the same. So
Well, they're not. They definitely have a lot of different. Like you can see here, some of these are for cranes, some of these are for knuckle boom cranes, which I don't know exactly what a knuckle boom crane is, but we're gonna have to figure it out by dinner tonight, which we have to go to in like half an hour. Uh, we're going. The dinner they also are taking us to is also the restaurant where my ex-girlfriend works, so that's a little spice. Just to spice up the podcast, I'll sprinkle that in there. Just get the brains flowing. Let's see. How long is this recording? All right, we've got 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Any other hot takes? What's your thoughts going away from the career fair?
I would say I'm actually there's another career fair next Tuesday, 1 week from today, and I
Yeah.
would almost say that I'm really looking forward to it. By the
Yeah.
time, like right now, I feel really comfortable
Good.
talking to employers.
Good. Push you out of your comfort zone a little bit. Next week, though, we probably won't be sticking together quite so much. Next week will be. I'll push you out of the nest, and you'll learn
Go
to
secure an
fly.
internship on my own because
Yeah. Well, a lot of the companies that'll be looking for a freshman are not the same companies that I'd be looking for.
that's true.
But that's not necessarily true. It's entirely possible we both get jobs at the same company. Should be kind of cool. Cut down our cost of living by a dickload if we got to. Oh crap! Do we swear on the podcast? I guess we've never officially filmed at a real episode.
This is our very first episode, so I'd say yes, we do.
I guess we do. So we occasionally swear.
We sprinkled it in.
Yeah, I guess today is September 18th, 2018. It's Tuesday, just for the time frame of this, although I'm sure us and the official podcast will announce that. And as far as parting words go, I'd say wish us luck at dinner tonight.
All right.
And we're back to the present. So again, isn't it bizarre?
That is weird.
It's like 1 second, and I guess for our listener, it could have been anywhere from 2 minutes if the audio quality was crap and I wanted to really minimize it, or it could have been the full. How long was that? Like 10 minutes or something we talked?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So I guess now we'll talk a little bit about the career fair from us in the present. On this Sunday of our recording our episode -6, October 7th.
Should we start right where we left off? After because we should have left off right before the Alltech dinner.
Did we leave off right? Okay.
Yeah.
So but for all I know, the audio quality wasn't that good. So I'll summarize it again real quick as quick as I can. So we made ourselves spend as much time there as possible to sort of break through that anxiety, because at first you go there, you're anxious. It sucks. It's scary. It's loud. You're confused. You don't know who to talk to. You don't know what to talk about. Particularly for Mason, I assume it was extremely nerve-wracking.
That is exactly correct. Yes.
Yeah. What were your thoughts right when you walked in?
All right. Well, leading up to it, I was nervous, and then once we got the resumes printed out, I felt pretty confident. I was pretty headstrong. I felt pretty good going into it, and then we walked through the doors, and it's jam-packed. Anywhere there's not a booth, there's a well-dressed man or woman, and
or well-dressed, students.
Yeah. You're right.
Your competition, literally, in this situation.
Yeah, mostly students, I guess. But right, like the what's the stress hormone? Do you know?
Stress hormone? I'm sure I know it, but I'm not about to waste our listeners' time as I think about it.
Anyways,
I'll Google it while you tell your story.
My stress hormone just spiked, and I was just instantly like, "Oh man, what have I got myself into?" Like, as a freshman here at Iowa State, whose high school experience consists 90% of sports and 10% of starting a fake birdwatching club to get my name in the yearbook.
Which is pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet. That's how high school should be. Sawyer, if you're still listening, God bless your soul. Hope you are.
Start now. Make a club. Make it goofy.
Just get goofy. You don't even need to follow the same make a weird club like Mason and I did. You just gotta get goofy.
Yeah, try to get your face in the yearbook as many times as you can.
By the way, main stress hormones: adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine.
Huh.
Those are them.
Well, those are none of the ones that I had in my mind. But now I know. Anyways, where was I?
You were talking about being stressed at the career
fair. So everyone else there was more qualified for every single position there than I was. And I had been going to school for about a month and a week. I was on my 5th week. And that was all the college education I had.
Didn't even have a GPA.
So
big leap of faith. Talking to you.
Not to mention that 95% of the companies just have like a rule where we don't take freshmen, which is understandable because.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that at all. I would just say that most freshmen suck. That most of them don't have that rule. I would say it's just that most freshmen suck.
All right, fair enough. So yeah, that was the initial thought walking in was, wow. I mean, you walk in, there's the Rolls Royce booth right in front of us with a line that just like curls around the entire place.
Yeah, would have taken an hour to wait in line to talk to them for 3 minutes.
Yeah,
and most likely get shut down as a freshman.
So, essentially, I mean, yeah, that was the initial thoughts, I guess. That's about all I had.
It's extremely overwhelming. It's very scary. I remember my first times going there, and you were lucky enough to have me there. I had no one. Imagine going there by yourself. No plan, no idea what to do. That sucked.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
It was awful. But we talked to some companies. We talked to some cool ones. The first career fair, the big thing was Alltech probably. We talked to a few different companies, but Alltech was the big thing, the big takeaway. The first company we talked to was Alltech. And the guy actually reached out to us. It was when Mason and I were doing like kind of a warm-up lap. And the guy starts talking to us, and luckily I knew like a decent amount about sort of the things he was asking just from various, being into engineering as like a hobby, even just watching YouTube videos. I kind of knew a little bit about what he had been talking about. And so he started talking to us, and he specifically is not taking freshmen, but I kind of pulled Mason in and introduced him like, this is my brother. This is, his first career fair or whatever I said. We start talking, and after a while he invites us to the dinner, both of us, even though Mason is, for this job, completely ineligible. So I would say Mason had one of the best possible first career fair experiences for a freshman. We went to the dinner. It was like 2 hours. They paid for everything. It was fantastic. And to be clear, it was not just us. They probably invited 15-ish kids, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they had like a bunch of different recruiters, and we were sitting next to Kimberly. I remember her name.
Yep.
Thanks to Kim Blackmore and Louie. That's how I remembered that name. And it went all right. It was a little bit. It was a little awkward at some times, but it went well. And then the next career fair came, I would say, and we were more prepared. We weren't as nervous. We got there earlier. We had more of a plan. We went through our routine of going to Taco Bell and
yes, that is an important.
This is actually a key fact. We did this both times. We went to Taco Bell. I picked Mason up. We're all dressed up. We got our resumes. We're looking sharp. We're hungry for success and some fast food.
Amen.
So we go to Taco Bell. Well, we wanted to go to Hardee's, but I missed the turn, so we just ended up in Taco Bell, and we just decided it wasn't worth the time to go to Hardee's.
Turned out to be a blessing.
Yeah, so it was really lucky. We went to Taco Bell. We got
number 14.
I want to say number 14. I can't remember. It was something. It was like a little burrito thing or something.
Yeah, Forrest got steak. I got chicken.
Yep.
And then almost the most important piece was the
Baja Blast.
The Mountain Dew Baja Blast.
Yep. Very crucial. If you're trying to get a job, do as we do. Spoiler alert, worked for us. And then when we eat that, we go to the career fair. This time, much better. We find our base camp. In this time, in fact, we do our warm-up lap. I start talking to someone. Mason peeled off, and he starts going to talk to people by himself. That was pretty sweet, Your second career fair, and he's already going off doing his thing. I didn't even see him for a while.
Yeah.
And then Mason comes up to me. He's like, "Man, I just got a job offer." Like, what? You got a job offer? Like, just on the spot? It's like, yeah. I went down there. I talked to them. I talked to them for a little bit, and they just offered me a job for $20 an hour. Like, oh wow, well that's pretty cool. He sort of tells me who he talks to and stuff. I go down there, I wait in line. It was Rockwell Collins. And I waited in line. The line was gonna take like an hour to get to the front. But when I get up there, I start talking to the same lady Mason had been talking to actually. And she offers me a job as well. Like, wow, well, that's pretty sweet. And I was like, in the back of my head, I'm like, this could be pretty sweet. Mason and I could be working together. That'd be pretty.
The podcast will go on.
The podcast could, yeah.
Well, we're
not going to have to be apart. We're not going to have to figure out how to record from long distances. We can just do this. That was my number one thought. The podcast can continue. So I go up and I'm filling out the paperwork. She's telling me about this job that she's offering me. And she's like, "Do you?" Okay. All right. Sorry for that cut, guys. Some stuff happened in the real world. Sorry about it. Yeah. So Mason and I both get these offers from Rockwell Collins. We celebrate, which was also part of our ritual, with a little bit of champagne. Very nice. And we of course both talked to a bunch of different employers. And were there any that really stuck out to you?
Rockwell Collins.
Rockwell Collins was a big one.
Other than that, I would say all of them for me were unmemorable. Yeah,
I had some that were pretty cool. There were some that like the recruiters were people I actually knew, and that was kind of fun. Some of the gifts they gave out were pretty sweet. Some of them, because when you go up and talk to them, they'll often give you just free merch. I got a flash drive sitting on my desk right here. I got for free from them, from Gerdau. I don't remember them at all. I don't think we talked to them. I think we literally went up to them, very straightforward. I see you're giving out flash drives at the end of the day. I see you have a lot left. Do you need those all? And they just gave them to us. Mm-hmm. We got water bottles. I got headphones here from Berkeley Technology Services. Thanks, Berkeley. This video is not sponsored by them. That was, side note, rabbit hole. That was another thing I was thinking about. I think we should do fake advertisements. Fake sponsors.
When you say, do you mean like real companies that we make fake adverts for, or make up a company with a made-up product?
Yeah, I thought about both of those. I almost think... No, because we can't really do a real company, because that's illegal, I would think. You can't associate. You can't be like, this video is sponsored by McDonald's, and then McDonald's is like, well, fuck, you guys are kind of fucking stupid. We don't want your we don't want your podcast representing us. We wouldn't give you guys money. They sue us. We have no money, so we have to go into prostitution. Unfortunately, probably shouldn't have said that. Sorry to the younger audience. Probably won't edit that part out. but I was thinking, just something funny when out of the blue, all of a sudden, and big shout out to our sponsor. If we can, and I think we should make it sort of believable, like something ridiculous, maybe something we even just made up, you and I, and something believable, so that people listen to this. Like, think about the beginning of episode 1 after we've done 6 podcasts. It starts off, all right, guys, welcome back to our podcast. Big shout out to this episode's sponsor. And think about how that clicks with people. All of a sudden, they're like, holy shit,
this
Mason
is sponsored.
Forrest, they got a podcast, and it's sponsored, and it sounds so good. It's got these great mics, one in my right ear, one in my left. My God, they've gotten this all figured out. I'd probably listen for another, at least on average, 3 minutes if I was an average person.
Yeah.
See what I'd probably at least click through the video, see what they're talking about. I'd be more likely to, at least. I don't know, just a funny thought, but that was a rabbit hole. So anyways, career fair was fun. It was we were nervous at first. By the end, it was great. At this point, you guys have listened to us talk about it in the present and then twice in the past. I'm sure you guys are sick of it. So ultimately, Mason, did you accept your offer with Rockwell Collins?
I did accept my offer with Rockwell Collins.
Yep.
Forrest, did you accept your offer with Rockwell Collins?
I did accept my offer with Rockwell. My offer with Rockwell Collins.
I like that.
Yeah. I did take a bit longer than Mason to accept it. That was just because I had a few job interviews with people that were also options, but ultimately Rockwell Collins, good company, big company, got a good reputation, and they made us great offers. So there was the added benefit of living with Mason, and of course continuing the podcast. Big pro right there. Big pro. So I did choose that. The other companies I was looking at that I was actually considering taking jobs with would be Pure Foods, Alltech, Johnsonville, and Paladin Attachments. Those are the only real ones that I had like a really good chance of getting a job with, like above, like to the point of counting on it, that I might have counted on it, and that I would also have wanted to work for. Other than that, the other companies that I had a shot with, I really wasn't too interested in. Like there was one that was like ironworking, and it would just be me and like 2 other guys working iron, and the recruiter was weird, and if the recruiter's a little weird, then
to be honest, though,
you use your best people to recruit people. You want their representative. You want them to be good representations of your company. If that was the guy that was recruiting, that was a bit weird.
I mean, we can talk smack about that Ironworks company, but that Ironworks company got us the Rockwell Collins positions.
That's true. That's a little bit of the butterfly effect.
I'll explain that. So, both me and Forrest went up and talked to the same Ironworks company.
Ironworker company, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not quite as efficient at talking. Well, I guess maybe I'm more efficient.
Yeah, you're more efficient.
But basically, I hand them my resume, and they look at it, and they go, "Well, there's nothing here." And then they evaluate my social skills, which are moderate, maybe, depending on how personable the recruiter is. My social skills fluctuate. But I was out of there. I talked to him maybe 5 minutes. And Forrest was still talking to him. I was talking to a man. Forrest was talking to a woman. And Forrest was still just yakking away. So I was going to walk. I walked across the aisle and was kind of like hiding in between 2 booths, watching Forrest talk, taking some notes, waiting for him to be done so we can like maybe finish a game plan, talk about what we're going to do. And I actually overheard the booth next to me, which turned out to be Rockwell Collins. The lady, Jody was her name, wonderful lady Jody. She was talking to a mechanical engineer, and that's what both me and Forrest are set to be. And she asked him, so what do you think you want to do? You think you want to be manufacturing or more design-oriented? And he says, oh, I'd like to design. And she kind of prods him a bit, and she says, are you sure you don't want to be manufacturing? And he's like, oh, no, I want to be design. And she's like, okay, well, I'll take you to our design guy. You can talk to him. And that kind of struck me as a little bit weird. I was like, man, she almost sounded like she was pushing him towards manufacturing.
Yeah.
So then no one else is waiting in line for this specific Rockwell Collins. Like, I mean, for the record, there were, I don't know, maybe 20 Rockwell Collins interviewers.
Yeah. There were a lot of interviewers, but there were like 100 kids waiting.
Yeah,
like,
no,
there
the line
were
is
so
insane.
many people that wanted jobs at Rockwell Collins.
But she looks at me, she's like, are you in line? And I was like, oh, no, I'm just waiting. And she looks around, no one else was in line. I was like, actually, I mean, if you don't have anyone here, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions?
Beautiful tactic.
And she goes, sure.
Very proud of you.
And I was like, well,
trained you well.
I'm a freshman, and I explained to her my situation. I don't have much when it comes to, like, actual engineering experience, but I got a lot of, like, team building stuff, you know, like swim team, soccer team. I was swim team captain, Yield graduate, cross country captain.
All right, the podcast gets it.
Anyway, you know, I was a very successful team member, right? And she was like, "Oh, we're looking for people that, you know, have been on teams. You know, they're good at working with other people." I was like, "Hey, this fits me." And she's like, "Hey, you should go get in line, and I'd like to talk to you officially so I can make some comments about you." And I was like, oh, sure. And I was like, I mean, I don't know. Rockwell Collins is such a big company. It's probably not going to happen. So I went and met up with Forrest again, and he started waiting in a long line.
Was this when I was in line for that like car company with Brighton?
Yeah, and
man, the butterfly effect is just crazy. I wanted that job too. I didn't even end up applying online because I had so many other things going. But that was a sweet. Side note. That internship, all you do is make a go-kart over the entire summer, and then you race it at the end. Really cool internship, and you get paid a ton to make that go-kart. Anyways,
that does sound awesome.
Isn't that awesome? I had to interject. So cool.
However, I was waiting in that line, and I was like, this company I have almost 0% shot with. Rockwell Collins I have almost 0% shot with, but I talked to the lady at Rockwell before, so I'd rather talk to her. She seemed very nice.
No, that's good.
She's less of a risk. So I went. And instead of waiting in line for a hopeless company with Forrest, hopeless for me necessarily, I went to Rockwell and I stood in there. I don't know, I probably waited 20, 25 minutes. I mean, time was a little bit, it was passing weirdly. I don't know if it was passing fast.
No,
I don't know if it was passing
when you're
slow.
At the career fair, it's weird.
You can check your watch, and 1 minute would go by after like 5 minutes. Or you can check your watch and you'll be like, wow, we have 10 minutes left. Oh my gosh.
There's only half an hour for me to talk to these people.
Anyway, so I get to the front of the line and they ask me, so I see you mechanical engineering. What do you want to do? And, you know, I thought back to what I overheard and I was like, I want to do manufacturing. So he's like, sure. And he takes me straight back to Jody. And she's like, oh, you're back. And I'm like, I'm back. Hand her my resume. She looks at it.
I'm back.
She looks at all my team building stuff, and she looks at me. And
she had already been primed.
I primed her.
Yeah.
I put the primer in the bullet, and then all I had to do was go back and shoot it. Mm-hmm. But I had to ask her a couple questions about the company. You know, she asked me a couple questions about me, and then she spends like 10 seconds looking at my resume, just kind of dead silence, and I was like, oh no, I'm starting to falter here. And she looks up with a big smile on her face, and she goes, I'd like to offer you a co-op.
And you just were like, you were shitting rainbows and flying through space, I bet. You were like, oh, fuck, yeah.
I'm not going to lie. For like 3 or 4 days after, I almost thought it was like a scam. And someone had just put on a Rockwell shirt and was just trying to like harvest my social security number and my email address and stuff to like steal my identity. Because it just seemed so... just too good to be true. But to the best of my knowledge so far, it's not. I've gotten actual comment or emails from Rockwell Collins.
Or really good fakes.
Yeah. So, I mean, if it is a fake, kudos to you.
You've got all my information. Soon you'll have the results from my drug test.
If you're going to steal someone's identity, though, I don't know why you'd steal a college kid. You know, I don't have much to my name right now.
No.
But anyways,
Maybe he wants to be you. Maybe it's an alien.
That's true. Long story short, the Steelworks company secured our job, and we were just talking smack about it.
So thanks, Guy, for being a pit of conversation I could not climb out of, and also being a boring company. Yep. So that's the kind of the start of our careers, I would say, like our real out there careers. Yeah. That's pretty sweet. Like I've had other sort of engineering jobs, but I think this is going to be the big one for both of us.
It's
very exciting getting to do it together. And you know what? We can honestly say, podcast viewers, our listeners, dear listeners, you guys can be the third wheel on this. Please come with us. In fact, if one of you guys comments, I'll give you a shout out. You cool with shout outs? I'm totally cool with shout outs.
Yeah, we can do shout outs. I mean,
look, we're going to get like probably on average 2 comments.
We're just going to be shouting out Sawyer every time.
Yeah, no, that's how my Minecraft channel was when I ran that. That was pretty fun, though. That was actually a ton of fun. You know, getting like 3 views every time, ton of fun. Because everyone was leaving comments. So please, if you're listening, please leave a comment. I don't care what it says. Even if it just says hi, H-I. Even if you try and be a little funny, you spell it weird, that's fine.
H-I-G-H.
Yeah.
I mean, or if you want to actually help the future of this podcast, you can give us some constructive or destructive criticism.
Yeah, constructive, any kind of criticism. If you leave a comment that says you guys are the biggest boners for making a podcast, I'll respond with, I get it. Thanks for listening. Honestly, if I were you, I'd probably think the same thing. But we've explained our motives early on. This is not to get famous. I don't expect that. This is for our time capsule, for our Sawyer. This is for us. We're making this for us, not for you. Unless you like us, then hell yeah. If you
enjoy it, then it is for you.
Yeah, if you enjoy it, then hell yeah. You're our target demographic. Okay, well, is there anything else you'd like to add to the career fair?
No, I think
at this point, it's probably been around 40 minutes. Our listener has been hearing us ramble on about the career fair.
Yeah, no, I think we've assailed them enough. Basically, less in a story. We're both great successes.
Very nice. Also, shout out to Taco Bell. This video is sponsored by Naco Bell, which is a knockoff of Taco Bell.
Haha Blast.
With their Haha Blast. Okay. So the next thing I kind of wanted to talk about, and this is going to be really quick. This could even be 1 minute, honestly. Is my Venus flytrap. Did you take a gander at it?
I did take me into it.
Because I had wanted to ask you if you knew anything about it, because I know you're into gardening. You're a big garden guy. I too am a big garden guy, but I would definitely say you have far more knowledge and expertise on the subject than I do. I am trying to repot my Venus flytrap that I bought from Hy-Vee maybe 2 or 3 months ago.
Right.
I bought some lights for it so it can get more sunlight than just through my window. Mm-hmm. It's got to go into dormancy. So those are the 2 things I'd like to talk about. Well, 3. We can say 3. First, how effective do you think the light's going to be? Second, what do you think about the repotting? And third, dormancy.
All right.
So first the lights. I mean, you can see them here. I'll post a picture if I remember on the YouTube video. So if you're one of our people watching on YouTube, take a gander.
The lights might be the thing I have the most expertise about because I too bought a very similar light with the goal of keeping my bonsai tree alive.
Oh God!
It didn't work.
Yeah, I would.
But I don't think that was a light problem.
No, I think those bonsais were knockoff. They were literally bushes they were small bushes that looked kind of cool because they were in fancy pots and sold for $20 at Hy-Vee. Yeah. A bonsai tree does not cost $20. A real bonsai tree that looks that nice, no.
Yeah, no. I have great respect for Hy-Vee, but that was
love Hy-Vee.
That was a poor quality sale by them and a poor purchase by us.
Yeah,
but I would say it's faults on both sides.
Kaylee bought it for me. My girlfriend gave that to me.
Well, my dad got it for me. So
yeah, what a bunch of boneheads.
Yeah,
God bless their souls. Love them both.
Love them both.
Yeah.
Well, out of one of them, I think the other one's quite swell too.
Yeah. Well, now it's getting weird.
Yeah. Anyways, the lights for me I have a very similar light. I can't speak exactly for those ones, but I tried to use a similar light
Yeah.
when sprouting pepper plants for my garden last year, and I can say that for me, it did not work very well. But mine was also not in front of
A window.
it was in front of a window, but it got really weird light because mom and
Yeah.
dad kept moving the plant somewhere else so they could use the table, which is understandable. It's their table. I took it all over with my gardening stuff, and they just wanted a little section of it, so they kept moving it. But not the point. The point is
It might work. Is the point? It might
my
work.
point is it might act as a decent supplemental
Yep.
light.
Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking.
You will not be able to put that in a closet with just those lights and have any success.
Okay. So you're endorsing it.
I am endorsing the idea of it, yes.
I'm endorsing the idea of it. You could be a lawyer. Okay, so then I'm repotting it. So with Venus flytraps, you're not supposed to put them in real soil because it has too much nutrients for it.
Right, yes.
Venus flytraps get most of their nutrients from the flies that they trap.
Their roots supposedly do not take up
No, they don't at all.
any or very, very minimal amount.
Yeah, they have a bulb. Did you know that? Like a tulip.
Do they?
Yep. Oh, well, if you didn't know that, I guess I can't really take your... I'll just explain. My plan is to transplant it from the moss it's in right now that it came in into this new moss, which I have.
It's right here.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So you can see it. It's on that shelf right there. I don't know if that moss is going to work, but I think it will. It's sphagnum. Sphagnum? How do you say it?
I know exactly. I can hear it.
Yeah. I think it's called... We can call it sphagnum moss. It's got a pH in there, I believe. Sphagnum moss. I'm going to put it in that. We'll see how it grows. I'm going to repot it. And the third, we can skip that one. That I don't think you're going to be. I don't think our viewers are even going to care about what you have to say on it after not even knowing.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I do a lot of research. Mostly, I listen to podcasts while I run. I've listened to a lot of gardening podcasts, but Venus flytraps are not a popular garden plant.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But no, fun fact for you. Where do you think the Venus flytrap is natively from?
Native America. North America.
Did I tell you this before?
No, I researched it.
Oh, well.
Because I want to talk to you about dormancy. So then you know a little bit about the dormancy of it. I'll give you my understanding, and you tell me if anything's wrong or you disagree with anything. So
right. Well, I would like to begin this by saying that none of my information should be taken as a fact. It is all
oh yeah, no, that's a blanket disclaimer over the whole podcast.
That's true. Yes. This is the whole. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah. So my plan is or my understanding of it is that Venus flytraps are native to North America. They're not like some tropical thing, like most people, including myself, as of like a couple months ago, would think.
Yeah, that's what I was getting into with the question. I wanted you to say like the rainforest, but you got it right.
Well, I dodged your bear trap.
You did. You stepped right over it, and I almost stepped into it.
I stepped right over your giant Venus flytrap.
Oh, wow.
Best play on words. Relevant to the topic. Not too bad.
This guy's an English major.
But they actually can get snowed on. They're actually supposed to go dormant, and in fact, one of the reasons most people's Venus flytraps die, because a lot of times you'll ask people, do you have a Venus flytrap? Or someone will say, yeah, I used to have a Venus flytrap, but it died. You know, I used to have a Venus flytrap when I was like a third grader, but it died. And one of the main reasons for that is they don't let it go dormant. Also, they feed it hamburger. Don't feed the hamburger. That's not good. But they have to go dormant over the winter. And they look like they're dying, but then they just grow back stronger. Just like a tulip, you know. You wouldn't try and keep a tulip alive over the winter, right?
Yeah.
So I'm working on trying to get my plant to go dormant here. I'm sort of shortening its days. I'm giving it less water. I'm going to replant it soon. I'm not sure if replanting it is going to kill it because it's starting to go dormant, or if it'll be fine. But honestly, there is mold on the moss, and I gotta transplant it, or it's gonna mold over the winter. I just got it.
Can I give some advice on that? I might have some on that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Based on most transplanting knowledge, the best time to transplant it is when it's already dormant.
Really?
Yes, because it causes the plant a lot of stress. It's weird to think of plants getting stressed, but
No, I get it. Yeah.
It causes them stress to be moved when they're from their soil when they are in the midst of growing. But you can kind of like sneak up on the plant. It's like when it's sleeping, you move it, and then it wakes up, and it's less likely to realize that it's in a different location. This is based on like you want to plant or transplant trees either in like latest fall or very early spring before the plant fully wakes up and gets kicked into growing season, or like when you do that with flowers or stuff like that. So I can't vouch for Venus flytraps, but with most plants, it's best to transplant them either at the beginning of their dormancy when they're fully dormant or at the very end.
I see. Interesting. That's very interesting. I'll give the podcast updates on that. Very interesting indeed. Okay, and then the second to last topic I had written down that I wanted to talk about. I don't know if you have anything else like later on. We can get to that in a sec. But I wanted to talk about the Brett Kavanaugh being confirmed. He was confirmed to the Supreme Court yesterday. Yep. And then I guess if you're skipping this part, yesterday would be October 6th, 2018. So yeah, that was a pretty big deal for a lot of people. It was really a big tear down the middle. A lot of people had strong opinions one way or the other on whether or not he should be confirmed or whether the GOP should look for someone else. How much do you know about that?
I would say I feel like I know a lot because I spend a lot of time reading the news on my phone through the news apps. I try to get a sprinkling of all of them. So sometimes I read Fox articles, sometimes I read CNN, sometimes I read Time, sometimes I read ABC. I mean, I'm not even sure. Those are like
ABC.
Those are the ones I listen to the most. You get to Vox, but Vox doesn't necessarily cover mainstream news as much.
No, Vox covers mainstream news quite a bit. That's Vox with a V. V as in virgin. Vox, and I think Vox does a good job on most things. I think on most things, Vox does a really good job, and they really hit all the important facts. They definitely lean left. For sure, but I do think they do a good job.
It seems like most lean left, except for, like your Fox News is the most prominent.
It seems like most media outlets do lean left, but I also think that it's just because they're reporting on a guy who is Republican and just does so much stupid shit.
Yeah.
Like, if you're always talking shit about the president and the president's Republican, people might say you lean left. But if your president is somebody, did you see the clip? This was like this week or like within the past few days. Some reporter raises her hand.
Nope, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And he calls on her, and he's like, "Look at her, she's stunned. She doesn't even know what to say." And she's like, I wasn't thinking or something. And he cuts her off again, and he's like, "Oh, I know you weren't thinking. You never do." The president of the United States said that. That's insane. To just snap at a reporter and be like, "Oh, I know you weren't thinking. You never think." It's like, whew, man, that is not the guy we should be basing our character on. So,
I agree. Yeah. But anyway, back to the Kavanaugh. No, I've read a lot of news, but I also feel like I've definitely received a lot of biased news because I do enjoy watching like more late night comedy shows.
Oh yeah, no, the late night guys just rip on Trump. That's where the views are.
I used to watch a lot of Seth Meyers, but then you actually were the one that pointed out just how biased he was, and then I started seeing it, and it just became too bad. I started watching Trevor Noah. His bias, he's clearly.
I just don't think Trevor Noah is funny personally. He's definitely is biased, but. I honestly, I don't know why. I just don't think he's very funny. I also haven't watched him in a while. I've heard he's gotten a lot better, but
I get some enjoyment out of it. I don't know.
And then there's Colbert.
Colbert's okay.
Yeah. Colbert's okay.
He leans,
but I'd say he's just okay.
Yeah.
To be fair, there's not a lot of. I kind of like Kimmel. I like Kimmel a lot.
I was gonna say Kimmel's the one I don't like, and I can't explain why.
Okay.
I don't have any specific reason why, but he's always just kind of struck me as a dick, and I can't explain why. I don't have any specific moment.
Yeah,
where...
he's sort of in the same way like Tucker Carlson. They're not on the same caliber. Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is just a bonehead. He always frames things. He'll bring the dumbest possible people on, or maybe even actors or actresses to represent his opposition, and then he'll just debate with them, and of course they look like dummies because they're just
dummies
acting out of emotion and just getting worked up all the time. But I do think if whatever you'd call that, if Tucker's a 10, I would say Kimmel might be like a 3 sometimes. Like he can be a little condescending to people who are on the other side.
Yes, I would. That's yeah.
But did you see? And here's another rabbit hole. But my God, did you see the clip where he had the porn star Stormy Daniels on that banged Trump? Have you seen this? Where
no, it popped up and I wanted.
It is actually hilarious.
I wanted to click it. However, I was surrounded by cousins that were 12 years or under, and I was like, I can't watch this with these around.
Because she says that she had turned an entire community against her. That community was the Mario Kart community.
Oh, I did. No, I read the quotes.
Yeah, because she had compared Trump's penis to the mushroom in Mario Kart, and apparently everybody who played Mario Kart was extremely upset by that. But anyways, Jimmy Kimmel comes out with this whole tray of different shapes and sizes of mushrooms, and she picks which one most. Like what? Think about this. Imagine if they had done that with Obama. That's like unthinkable. Like, but it's just the way, because Obama treated himself and others with so much respect and dignity. Even if you disagreed with him on a lot of different issues, like you can't deny the dude had class. And then now we're in this situation where, Trump will be just giving people nasty nicknames or just snaps at reporters or makes fun of that retarded reporter, or like stuff like that. And oh God, maybe I should have said retarded reporter. I guess I'm getting hung up on that now. I know I could get some flack for that, but you remember the disabled guy? Where Trump flailed his arms around,
the bus comments,
Yeah,
like
it gets to the point where it's like it's funny and not even that crazy that a porn star was on a late night show comparing mushroom shapes and sizes to decide which one looks the most like our president's penis.
Yeah, no, we live in a weird world.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Anyways, we've almost started talking about Kavanaugh after 20 minutes or whatever of.
It's been a hot sex since we decided we were going to start talking about this thing that we're not talking
hot sex.
about.
Stormy Daniels.
So basically, Brett Kavanaugh was nominated by Donald Trump to be on the Supreme Court. Brett Kavanaugh is a Republican, and for that reason alone, a lot of people opposed him. Just for that reason, some people, I believe one person even said they opposed him before he was even named, just knowing that he was Trump's nominee and he was Republican, which is obviously not good.
It's not. No, it definitely shows how polarized we are.
Yeah, and that's when you're dealing with the Supreme Court, you definitely want to avoid partisanship as much as possible. I think that's one branch of the government that, as much as possible, should not be partisan. But anyway, so it's coming up. The confirmation of Brett Kavanaugh for Supreme Court is coming up, and is it Christine Blasey Ford?
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Okay. Yeah, Dr. Ford comes forward and she's like, I didn't want to do this, but I feel like it's my duty, my responsibility to report like something awful that's very telling about who Brett Kavanaugh is, and he tried to rape me in high school, and the details of it. Did you watch the hearing at all? They had a big hearing, and they
I didn't get to watch really much of it. I watched the highlights, which doesn't
which of course could
convey a lot of different messages depending on who you're watching. But
whose highlight reel you're watching. But I watched almost the entire thing just live. I watched it.
Really?
Yeah, and her testimony was so it was convincing. It was It was consistent and it was convincing, and I don't think she was up there just as a puppet. Maybe she was a puppet. That's what the Republicans are saying, that she was a puppet of the Democrats. Maybe she was telling her truth, but she was just being a pawn in a larger game. I think that she was telling the truth. I think that her story is true. Just because it is, first of all, it's compelling, but even objectively, it is statistically improbable, almost impossible, that she could have known so many things that she did that and that were confirmed, that were right, just because she didn't remember how she got to the party or everyone that was at the party or, all these other random facts does not mean that it didn't happen. I believe her. I think that it did happen.
I think that I don't know if you saw, but Donald Trump Jr. tweeted trying to make her appear uncredible, and his argument of why we can't believe her is because she said she's afraid of flying on planes, and she flew on a plane to get here, and once she flew on a plane to go to vacation, and once she flew on a plane to go to a work conference. So I don't know how we can trust this woman.
Donald Trump Jr. Honestly, all the Trump kids, I think, are kind of boneheads. Ivanka Trump has the best reputation, but
she's always portrayed as a victim, and
I don't think that's.
I think that's. I mean, it's
because she's a chick, man, and her dad's portrayed. A lot of people view him as such a sexist guy. They view him as a sexist, and then his daughter is supposed to be the voice of reason, which is kind of weird. But God, the whole thing just seemed like a bit of a mess because you get the voices in the middle just get drowned out by the people screaming. Like Lindsey Graham. Did you see that? That was the guy who was.
Oh God, no!
He's Lindsey Graham. Has this been hell for you? And even Brett Kavanaugh's like, oh, yeah, it's been pretty bad. He's like, it's been hell. Lindsey Graham, his face turned red. He's just like, this is despicable what they have put you and your family through. And then he's
like, if you wanted justice, you sure came to the wrong place at the wrong time, because this sure isn't justice.
Yeah, and then at one point, you watch it, and it's so ridiculous. This guy had this speech written out ahead of time.
Yeah, that's what blew my mind, is he kept looking down.
He couldn't even take the time to memorize this speech that he's supposed to be so passionate. He's like, this is, and then he, looks down, and he's what did he even call it? He's like, this is a farce, or this is a ruse,
a sham, or
this this is a sham, and he has to look down and read the worm sham. It's really, you couldn't remember that one word.
Same with, although Kavanaugh did the same thing. He walked in and he got pretty angry. But he kept looking down. I'm not sure. Have you ever have you seen the Saturday Night Live?
Of course I saw the Saturday Night Live. Oh my
Matt
God.
Damon. Oh,
so funny. When he twitches his nose, makes his mouth as small as possible. He's
I love it. I love it when he every time he turns the page, he just and then I was like, why is he doing that? Because I hadn't watched very much at all.
He did a great job.
And then I actually watched some of I went to the full thing uncut, and I just kind of skipped through Kavanaugh's. And it was spot on, the nose,
twitching his nose.
Yeah,
twitching his nose. I had a calendar.
And he's like,
I love my calendar.
I was lifting weights with
Squee
and PJ and in Squee's basement.
Squeeze. Mr. Kavanaugh, what is we see Devil's Triangle here. What's it refers to a drinking game. We see here it says boof. Your Honor, we were 16. It refers to flatulence. Okay, guy, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. What? This is public. This is live streamed on YouTube. You think we're gonna buy that?
No, I thought that was good. But
we like beer, okay?
Oh, when he repeated beer 13 times in 10 seconds. Yeah. Me and my friends, we liked beer. We drank beer. We liked beer. Sometimes we had too many beers.
Yeah.
But we liked beer. Do you like beer? I like beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or someone's like, have you ever blacked out? He's like,
I don't know. Have you?
yeah, I don't know. Have you ever blacked out? It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. See, like I was kind of like. I mean, of course, you gotta like take the woman into account. You know, you can't just discount that. But it seemed to me like before I read too much, before I listened too much, like it was just like prime timing. You know, like Chuck Grassley was like,
yeah.
"All right, we're gonna vote," and then
yeah,
Elizabeth
yeah.
was it Elizabeth Warren? I don't know. Whatever the female senator that brought it up was like. It
No,
seemed
it
like
wasn't
perfect
Warren.
timing. No, you're right. She's not. I don't think she's even on the committee.
I don't know why I can't remember. I can't remember names. I'm fried. I worked for like 5 hours right before we filmed this.
Anyway, the fact that it was brought up, like perfect timing, it seemed kind of shady to me. But like you have to take it into account, and the fact that like the Republicans were just trying to bash through it. Like I remember, Mitch McConnell gave an interview before like either of them had testified, and he's like, "We're just gonna," like he actually said something along the lines of, "We're just gonna ram right through this. We're gonna do our job, and Kavanaugh will be on the Supreme Court." And I was like, "What?"
Yeah,
You're totally discounting. And then like after, oh, excuse me, when more and more people kind of like his Yale classmates and some more of his like high school friends or whatever came out and said, well, he actually did kind of have a drinking problem, blah, 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 blah. You know, it kind of started like dawn on me like, oh, this is something real. This isn't just like a Democrat like farce. I mean, still it could be. I guess we can't necessarily explain totally, but when he got up and he was getting all like huffy puffy angry when he was giving his testimony, it struck me as like maybe this guy like isn't necessarily fit, you know, like he kind of had like a I deserve this attitude. And it's the Supreme Court.
Yeah, so ultimately I think at the end of it there were sort of each side. There were sides of on the Republican views and the Democratic views. The takeaways from it were the main ones from the Democrats. The really outliers were just like, we have to believe women. He did it. He should not be allowed on there, which I think is a little extreme.
I think that's extreme. Yes.
I don't think it just sets a scary precedent that, you know, anybody running for office could be, because it's tough to stand up to that sort of scrutiny.
Exactly.
It's almost impossible. There's, you know, and you don't, if every member of Congress had to go through all that, I would bet not a lot of them would make it. I don't think I would even make it, honestly. I bet I've done something sometime that someone would bring up and I wouldn't be able to get through. But then the more middle, more rational argument from the left side is, well, we can't prove or disprove whether or not he did it. It seems like he did it, but we can't prove or disprove. We can't, there's no definitive evidence. Innocent until proven guilty. We assume innocence, which I think is good. But just from the way he's acted, his character is not good enough. Like he accused it of being a Clinton conspiracy.
Yeah,
which shows partisanship. He obviously is extremely. It's the Republicans versus the Democrats. You know, it's us versus them. That's how he seemed to view it. He acted like a child in many instances. Like, I don't know, have you? You know, you really shouldn't say that. You're trying to be on Supreme Court. You're trying to go for the highest court in the land. You know, you really shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, there's the extreme like right view, which is just sort of like this is
a Democrat sham.
It's a Democratic sham, you know. And then the more middle ground view from the right, which, you know, I would say I can see both the middle ground views from both sides. I'm on board with both of them. Both that maybe his character isn't what we want. Maybe we should look for someone else. Even if he is Donald Trump's guy, who really cares? You know, if he's a good guy, he's a good guy. But on the right side, the middle view is more of just like this sets a ridiculous standard that if somebody gets nominated and someone doesn't agree with maybe one or two of their points, they could even if they're lying, accuse him of doing something years prior, and that is extremely dangerous. Which I can even get like the senator from Rhode Island was one of the people's votes. She was a Republican woman who people didn't know which way she would vote. She gave like a 45-minute speech yesterday, the day before, and I watched maybe 20 or 30 minutes of it. It was pretty compelling. She makes a case for why she's going to vote yes to confirm Kavanaugh, and it was a little compelling. Mainly the points were just like there isn't any evidence that he did it. Dr. Ford did seem convincing and compelling and honest and full of integrity. A lot of people have vouched for her, but there is no hard evidence, and that you can't ruin someone's life or reputation or career based off of something that has no evidence.
Yeah. It also is. It would be interesting to see if this exact situation happened
On the flip,
like a year and a half ago.
Yep.
Before there was any, even it was still in Donald Trump's presidency, but before there was any time pressure. Because right now, the big talk is like, there's a good chance Democrats are going to recontrol the Senate and maybe the House after the midterms. And that's like November 22nd.
Isn't it like the 9th? I thought it was like the 9th.
It might be earlier. I guess I can't say for sure. Well, make sure you get out and vote. That's a huge takeaway from this podcast. Is vote. Anyways,
go vote. Hopefully, we upload this podcast before time to vote. You know me, baby. You know me. You know me. Editing could be 2019 by the time it's done.
It's true. Anyways, they started confirming Kavanaugh in like July. I want to say is when they started the proceedings. And
I don't know.
It's now October when he finally got confirmed with the whole with the setbacks. I mean, you can't deny that it was pushed back another week and a half to 2 weeks because of that. But if they started the process again right now with someone new, it guaranteed would not be done by the midterms. And then if the Republicans lose their control of the Senate, then they can't have anyone through. Like, the Democrats will not allow anybody that Donald Trump appoints through. So it'd be interesting to see, would they have just kind of given up on Kavanaugh and said, all right, you're right, maybe this is true. Maybe his character's not great. We'll just find someone else.
Yeah.
Without the time pressure. I would be very interested to see that. We can't. We won't ever be able to know. But.
Yeah. And again, here's a little disclaimer. Mason and I are not political scientists. We are not the experts. This is a matter of opinion. And even as far as that goes, it's nighttime. It's like 9:13. I've been up since pretty early. I've traveled a little bit today, and I've worked quite a bit today. So I'm tired. I'm sure Mason's a little tired. So maybe we didn't even represent our own views perfectly. But I'm ready to close the book on that topic, unless you have anything else.
Nope, I'm pretty much good on that.
Cool. You got any topics you'd like to talk to? Right now, our podcast is around 1 hour and 40 minutes. There will be little bits I edit out, I'm sure, but we also have to edit in the career fair stuff.
Yeah. I am interested. We talked about this when we started our test run, testing out the microphones a little bit. But it's old news now. The technical difficulties pushed us back too far, but I'd like to hear your views on the Serena Williams.
Oh yes, I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I did want to talk about that. At this point, it was such a big deal when it happened. At this point, most people don't even talk about it. Nobody.
That's true. I mean, it was very it was a blip.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was there was some big tournament. I believe it was the final game, and Serena Williams has been longtime champion. She's a tennis player, and she's black, which I mean is a minor detail, but for the picture. So really a prominent athlete, just an absolute beast of a woman, beast of an athlete. She is so good.
She's like the Michael Phelps of tennis. She's the Tiger Woods. You know, she's like the when you think of this sport, when you think of tennis, Serena Williams is the face. Yeah, very respected athlete. But there was this match, and I forget the name of the person who was up against her at this point, but the match was getting intense, and the ref starts calling her. Initially, he calls her out for being coached
which is against the rules in tennis. You can't receive coaching through anything, words or hand signs or anything. And the coach, he later admitted that he was actually coaching her, but that she wasn't even looking at her, she wasn't even taking it, and that all coaches do it all the time, and it's just such a small rule that normally it goes under the radar, I guess. Which, that's believable. I can believe that, like, if a coach is giving players thumbs up all the time, it's probably not going to get called. I don't know what he was doing, but I can believe that, sure.
I mean, once again, for the record, I've never watched a tennis game in my life. I don't know.
I used to play tennis.
That's true. So you might be significantly more knowledgeable.
I don't think we had any rules in high school on junior varsity about Coach Kruger coaching us during the game. I mean, Patrick and I just had the time of our lives goofing around. That was so much fun. Actually, I missed that, but yeah. So I guess out of the two of us, I'm the expert. But anyway, so the game's going on. She keeps getting penalized, and she's accusing her of receiving coaching from her coach. Was essentially accusing her of cheating, and she's really wants. She had a great record, and she doesn't want that on her name. She will not be accused of cheating.
He gave her like a 1 point, like, hey, don't do that. Like, I mean, it's a point. A point is a point. You can't argue that, but not severe. It was not a severe punishment.
Yeah, but to her, it was like she made comments about. She's like, I teach my daughter every day. Like,
well, that was actually cheat. That was a little bit later. I actually watched a pretty significant amount of like what went down. She received like a small penalty, and she kind of started yelling at the ref. Not that yet. And then the ref said, "You're yelling at me. I'm taking a whole game down for you."
Oh,
so like I think it's like best 3 out of 5. I want to say.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a pretty big setback for her,
Mm-hmm.
For her chances of winning. And instead of she was already down. I think it was. They might have had like 1 set to 1 set or something, but now she's down like her opponent has 2 sets, she has 1, something like that. And then she goes on to lose the game. Like she loses the tournament, and she goes up after it and yells at the ref and says, "You owe me an apology. I have never received coaching. My daughter, I show a good model, but I'm a good role model for her, whatever, blah, 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 blah." But before that, she smashed her.
She smashed her racket, didn't she? She threw it at the ground and smacked.
She smashed her racket, which, personally, I don't think there's ever really a reason. Like that's. I don't know. What's your take on it? Tell me your opinion.
I've seen people break rackets when I was in the ultra intense high school version. I don't think she's Serena Williams. She shouldn't. She was throwing a bit of a tantrum. That's what it looked like. But I also can understand kind of where she's coming from. If she has a lot of eyes on her, that's a lot of pressure. She's been number one for so long, and she's raising a little girl who is for sure watching this, and it's hard to explain, but I've definitely gone through it myself when I was younger or in my past, I guess, and I'm sure maybe you can relate, where sometimes even deep down, what you're doing, you're digging yourself into a bigger hole, but you are just so stubborn. Like, in her mind, if she could just get this ref to admit that she was not cheating, everything would be okay. And so she's just like, "You owe me an apology." He doesn't apologize. She's like, well, now he's beat me. Maybe if I can get him to apologize, it's all over. "You owe me an apology." And she's just lost the spot of number one. Everything's so intense. She's, "My daughter," I kind of get it, but she was acting out of turn.
She was, yes. I don't know if she pulled a gender card. She said, "It's because I'm a woman."
Yeah.
Which,
she's playing a woman.
I can't speak. Maybe tennis, like the males actually don't get penalized for coaching. Like I'm not knowledgeable, but pulling the gender card in that situation seemed a bit like grasping at straws for me. I don't know if that seemed like that to you, but
no, yeah, it was a bit weird. I didn't like that very much. I didn't like that she made it about that, but that was one of the things that made it gain so much traction. Because then, the tennis, whatever the ref association was, or whatever the company was, or the association, I don't even know. But they stood their ground. They're like, this guy is a good ref. He'll be continuing to ref for a long time, didn't they?
Yeah.
They stuck with him. But then on Twitter and stuff, even some pretty big male tennis players were like, yeah, I receive coaching all the time and nothing ever has happened to me. But so that was, it became quite a big thing. But as with most of these big things that blow up on Twitter, it's blown under the rug and
nobody remembers anymore already.
Yeah, nobody. Yeah, I even myself. I remember we were talking about that a couple weeks ago, and now at this point, I don't even think about it very much.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So that happened. I got a new iPhone. You got a new iPhone?
My new iPhone's kind of grown old. I actually opened mine up as soon as I got it.
Yeah. So we upgraded our family plan. Came with new iPhones. iPhone 8s. Mason started his up right away. I personally hold the philosophy that there's no point getting something new unless your old thing is totally gone, which is why I have horrible shoes 99% of the time. I just got new shoes today, actually.
Before it makes it sound like I also am not like that, and I get new things all the time. I would like for the record to state that my phone actually broke, and I was using my girlfriend's old phone.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't accusing you of being a new things only guy, but that's interesting. So good for you.
So I actually felt kind of bad because she had an old phone where the screen didn't work. No, it was the battery that didn't work. And she took it in. She spent $25, got a new battery. And she's like, Mason, I want you to use this phone because yours is just not working for anything. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I appreciate that. And literally a week later, Mom and Dad upgrade the plans. Dad got so frustrated with his phone.
Oh, yeah.
He went and
they were sucking, to be honest.
Yeah, no, they were. I mean, yeah, no doubt about that. But then I got the new phone. I got a phone actually from my dad. The first new phone I've opened in, I don't know, a long time. Because I always buy them used from friends and stuff. But then I was able to give the phone to my girlfriend. I don't know. She gave it to me. I don't know if it was a loan. I don't know what she expected. But I felt kind of guilty taking it with no... She wouldn't let me give her anything for it. Which is an act of love because we're dating. We've been dating for a couple of days now.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I know. Speaking of which, what's the date? The 7th? We are T-minus 11 days until our 4-year anniversary.
Damn, that's crazy. That's for a 18-year-old.
Yeah, no, it's a good portion of my life.
For 4 years. You probably hadn't even completed going through puberty when you first fell in love.
Yeah, no, that's true. But yeah, no. So I gave her a phone back, and I got the new phone.
It's good. No, it's happy. I love Rowan. She's wonderful.
Yeah, no, she's sweet. I also love her, and she is wonderful. So Rowan, if you're listening to this, for one, it will be the first time you have heard me swear. So
what? Are you serious?
Yeah, no, I don't swear around Rowan.
You don't swear around her, but surely in 4 years she's heard you swear.
I think no. Okay, you're right. Depends on what you count. I've never dropped an F-bomb. I've never. The only thing I've said is one time I was driving, and somebody cut me off, and I said, "Shit," and she's like, "What'd you say?" Because I was talking to her on the phone.
My God, she make you do one of those prayers? You gotta do Hail Marys or something?
She told me when I got back home I had to put soap in my mouth. No. It was just kind of shocked, because she started dating me when I was a freshman in high school, and I religiously didn't swear. I used all the
crap.
What the helicopter?
Oh God, I haven't heard that one in a hot sec. What the fire truck?
What the fire truck? Yeah, just the immature stuff, when you're a freshman in high school. And then I probably actually didn't start swearing on a regular basis until probably almost halfway through junior year.
I love the way you phrased that. I didn't start swearing on a regular basis until halfway through junior year. This was a life event for you. Although I'll admit, I remember my first time. Actually, I don't remember. I don't know if I remember my first time, But I do remember my first time flipping off someone. It was that damn neighbor. You remember who I'm talking about? Don't say his name.
Are we talking about the one right next
The
to us?
little boy.
The one that stole Sawyer for a
The
while.
one that stole Sawyer that one time. Yeah. I remember.
I'll tell that story real quick. So
make it quick. Make it quick because we've gone a while now. I'm starting to wrap this bad boy up.
You got chicken thawing out downstairs.
I got chicken thawing downstairs.
So I went to a friend's house that lived in a neighborhood like maybe 5 blocks from where my parents currently reside, where I grew up for most of my life. And there was a neighbor kid who always played with me and Sawyer after school. And for the first time in like a month, I wasn't going to be playing with them because I was going to be at another friend's house that was nearby. And Sawyer was bummed. He wanted to play with me, which I appreciate. It makes me feel good. But our neighbor said, "Oh, I can take you to." His name was Tanner. My friend was Tanner. He's like, "I can take you to Tanner's house, and you can play with Mason there."
And Sawyer was like 4.
Yeah, Sawyer was like not able to make decisions by himself then. I don't even think he'd started like kindergarten yet. Yeah. So then this kid who's in 3rd grade, he's also not a very good decision maker. He takes Sawyer and he starts walking, but he has no idea what Tanner's house is. So he just keeps walking, and our mom realizes like, where the heck is Sawyer? So she gets in the car and she drives, and she finds him in a neighborhood like the opposite direction of Tanner's house, and they're just walking around, just a 3rd grader and a 4-year-old, Oh man, Mom was pissed. I have not said a word to that kid since then.
Yeah, I honestly don't even. He could be a great kid.
I don't think so. Sometimes he rides his dirt bike around their yard.
Yeah, I don't think he's a great kid, but I'm saying he could be.
He could be. He has the potential.
But I remember my first time flipping him off. He had done something to wrong me, and I was upset. And I don't remember exactly what happened, but it ended with Mom sending me inside, taking his side. And I remember being inside so pissed off that I got sent inside, and he was. And I remember, I don't remember what happened, but I remember he was in the wrong, and I was maybe less in the wrong. I don't remember specifics, but I remember, this is so unfair. I'm inside, I'm a little kid at the time, and I'm just really blood's boiling, and I staring at him through the window, and I just put up one middle finger, like.
Did he see you?
No, nobody saw me.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I accidentally flicked off Rion's mom. Rion's my girlfriend, by the way.
Wow, you flipped off your first time flipping someone off was your girlfriend?
No, it wasn't the first time flipping someone off, but should I tell we could almost see this as a cliffhanger for the next episode.
Sure. I do hate long goodbyes on episodes. Yeah, all right, here.
So, yeah, no.
This is going to be a cliffhanger. Buckle up now.
If you want to hear how I accidentally flipped off my now 4-year girlfriend's mom.
This is going to be a good story because this is the end of our very first and worst episode.
Damn, now I don't know if it's actually good enough. It's
probably good. No,
I already kind of spoiled the ending, like I flip off my girlfriend's mom.
Yeah, I guess it's not much of a cliffhanger anymore.
That's pretty much
how you know what? I've always wanted to end a podcast in one specific way, because I hate long podcast endings.
Understandable.